Until you imagine you can have all you want without paying too high a price.
I can attempt to wipe her memory.
You're all fucking welcome.
Hey, an enemy!
You're still looking, aren't you?
You heard it up top, and if you're a long-time listener, you know the deal. Another 10 episodes, another Whatcha. We're going to be breaking down all the pop culture stuff we've been enjoying here on Normies Like Us with your hosts, just Colin.
Just Mike.
And just Jacob.
Absolutely.
What up, boys?
Wow, 310.
Right. We were saying
We made it.
On the pre-roll, we should have reviewed 310 to Yuma because we did 300 and we really missed the opportunity.
That's
So our
right.
apologies, listeners. Regular
I forgot we
Whatcha.
did 300. I mean, we're running out of movies that would fit that metric. So I guess
320.
310 was our last.
320 to
20,000
Yuma. That's
Leagues
the
Under
sequel,
the Sea
right?
we'll get to.
We
Yeah.
gotta start thinking of something for 400. I'm sure there's the 400 blows, a little Truffaut.
Oh, wow.
Very normie.
Yeah, just send in your favorite numbered movie titles so we can get ready.
We'll get there.
There's got to be something with 360.
Oh, sure. Xbox.
Well, yeah, I was going to say we'll review the Xbox.
Our favorite console.
The Xbox 360 retrospective. But yeah, a little Whatcha, I'm excited.
What you been
310
watching,
again.
what you been playing, etc.
Also, what you been doing, if there's a
What
bury
you
the
been
lead a
doing.
little bit. But yeah, I think we just dive in. There's not a lot. The whole thing's kind of what we've been up to, right?
Well, up top, I did want to do a little segment that we could do called TV Roundup because we
Okay.
covered a couple shows that ended, since we covered. I'm talking about Hot D, House of the Dragon, season 2. I'm talking The Acolyte, season 1, season only, it seems like.
Talk about that.
And The Boys, season 4. So we can talk about how those wrapped up, if we like the finales, and the future of those shows.
That's true. Yeah, the news of the day is the canceled light that's been dropped.
Yeah,
very weird.
I personally am very pissed off by this. I know I was probably more into it than you guys were by a little bit. I was a little higher on it, but by the end of it, I really liked this show, and I thought it had, it could have gone like. Here's the thing: a lot of shows maybe don't have a great first season, but they have promise there, they have potential, and then they go on to become a great show in later seasons. And this show will never get that chance because it was canceled. And I thought it did have room to grow. Wasn't perfect, but I thought it had room to grow, and I was excited for a season 2. So what do you guys think?
I mean, I feel like you were definitely the highest on it. I think there was still some issues with the writing and motivation of specifically Jedi Master Saul and like his whole thing. I really want to kidnap these children. But like you said, like Star Trek has had really terrible, like TNG has a really bad first and most of the second season before it finds its sea legs, right?
Yeah.
So in the streaming environment, shows just getting canned after one season does kind of preclude them from finding their footing. So I agree with you there.
Yes.
Colin, what do you think?
It's absolutely just an effect of modern TV, how shows are made now. And to give you some examples, Parks and Rec, one of the most popular comedies of all time, got off on a weird foot with the first season. They retooled some things, introduced some new characters, and it became, well loved by a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the Star Wars universe itself, you can point to the Clone Wars TV show, which the first season was not very well received. People didn't like Ahsoka. They thought, oh, what? Anakin's got like a little teenage Padawan now. What is this? But
Right.
by in a couple seasons in, it got a lot better, and people love it. So
Yeah, racists win again, unfortunately. But Jacob,
Yes.
the issue is that you just gave the example of, well, come on, Star Wars has had rocky starts before. In this current landscape, that series in particular seems to be like one and done is the message. Obviously, Obi-Wan not really well received, doesn't seem like another season. Boba Fett hated, seems like not another season. Maybe Ahsoka. I'm not sure if we get Ahsoka season 2.
Oh, that's already been confirmed. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's the thing is like, people liked Ahsoka, I guess. I don't know, but with this show, it definitely was open ended to where it could have had another season, and I think that was the plan from the beginning. And again, there was the loud minority contingent of Star Wars fans that
Mm-hmm.
really trash this show. A lot of them, I suspect, didn't even watch it. They just read. And here's the other thing: there's these influencers, these YouTubers uh, that can influence people's discourse. And I saw this happen with The Last Jedi too. I know some people don't like that movie,
Mm-hmm.
but I really think these really outspoken haters can influence people's opinions on
But
certain things. Yeah.
the Star Wars was the most popular thing in the world when we were growing up. Even if it wasn't constantly being made, I would say in toy sales and video games
Mm-hmm.
and just like in all the other shit. Isn't it
Yeah.
incredible to see how unconfident a company is with Star Wars now, where literally they seem to constantly be saying, we don't know what to do with it?
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're so fickle too because like with their trilogy, it was The Last Jedi had mixed reception to say, the least, and they completely retooled what they were going to do with it with the Rise of Skywalker, trying to please everyone and in that case pleasing no one. So they just made it worse. They're trying to focus test these, change direction when they just need to stick to a vision and not worry
Right.
about what fans think. Like
Yeah.
I think artists and creators, like, the biggest mistake you make is listen too much to fans, I think, honestly, and just
Yeah.
do your vision. Don't worry about what people think. Things will be received how they're received. Even the prequels were hated when they came out
Mm-hmm.
and now have been reclaimed by a lot of people and are loved. So
Do
public
you
perception can change. Yeah.
Mike, do you believe the stats now that have come out where they say like, well, we had to cancel it because it had zero viewership?
But
Um, no,
I
I
don't believe
think
that.
no,
It was one of the
that's
most. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
no.
I'm
I'm
just
saying it's a cop out. It's a cop out for them. Like they're using it as an excuse, and uh, also profitable or not, that's not the streaming model. It's not how many people viewed one particular show. It's just how many
I
people
don't
are on the
think.
platform, and they have enough money that they could eat like a sub-performing Star Wars season one to it's a
I
big
guess,
excuse.
yeah.
I don't believe those numbers because you're talking about a show that was in the zeitgeist, especially like episode 4 on. Every
Hmm.
day I would log into Twitter, see people talking about it, see people talking about Khmer and the lightsaber battles and stuff. And I didn't see any of that for like Ahsoka, these other
No.
shows. Like people were not talking about it in the same way they were talking about this. And I think it was very divisive. There was like a very strong community that did love it, and there was a strong community that hated it and hate watched it or didn't even watch it and just talk shit about it online. Um, but again, yeah, Disney and Star Wars, they listen to those loud people, uh, and this is what we get.
I was so much cooler than you, Jacob, in that literally I was not even on the episode. Shout out to Adam, Cargo Bay,
Right.
who stepped in to watch that for us. But I have lost confidence completely in enjoying any Star Wars thing. In fact, find it so embarrassing now in retrospect, the little Darth Plagueis like creeping behind the rock, these little things that will never be resolved. It's like it's so embarrassing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Vernestra row. We'll never get to the bottom of it. Like
right. And well,
Yes.
that's a character that was expanded in the High Republic books and things that they do. So that's a character that was not introduced in the show. That was an existing character.
right.
So, but I think it's a real shame. I think just this is just one fan's perspective, but I was pretty out on Star Wars. This show got me back into Star Wars so much
Hmm.
that I played, and we'll talk about what in
Right.
our what you playing segment, but I've been playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, beat that game for a second time. I played it years ago when it came out.
Hmm.
Played Jedi Survivor, the sequel, and I only play those games because I was in such a Star Wars zone that it reignited my love of the franchise. The Acolyte did, and
Hmm.
now I'm completely out again. I was going to play that Star Wars
Outlaws.
Outlaws game. I was very excited for that. Now I've sort of completely lost interest in it, and I'm sort of boycotting Disney and Star Wars because I'm so mad about the decision.
Yeah.
So again, just one fan, but you've completely lost my business now. So
You
very good
Hmm.
decision there.
you
Yeah.
feel bad for the stars. Like obviously
Hmm.
Manny Jacinto, it's like you were a star, like you ruled on
Bro.
that show.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
just like example wise, Amanda Steenberg, it's like you're like the fourth female person of color actress on this show who was never defended by the corporation who makes
Oh
this.
yeah.
Like, it's
Mhm.
like, to say embarrassing again, like that's truly despicable.
And they have still not come out and said any kind of support or anything for the actors in this show. Disney hasn't, Lucasfilm. It's like, yeah, that's cowardly. That's, what are you doing? Like, if I was, an actress of color or a female actress, like, I
John
would not
Boyega
even want to
tried to
work
tell
for Star
us,
Wars.
don't fucking work
Yeah,
for Star Wars. Like he said it when he
Ever.
was on those
right.
movies. Yeah.
Look what happened
Um,
to Rose, the actress that played
Pico.
Rose
Yeah.
in the new trilogy,
Who
and
the
of
Obi-Wan
course
girl's name
Jar
was?
Jar.
I don't even know that character.
Yeah,
I feel
and
bad
even
for that woman.
Ewan
Mhm.
McGregor made a video, supporting her and saying, you know, uh, supportive things, but even that was just him personally and not Star Wars or the company. So it's just, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
It's like, what the
and
fuck?
it's disappointing, and it sucks that Disney owns all of the things because like this reactionary model is like ran into every other one of their departments. Like Marvel's struggling, and like they'll just cancel stuff there too, and a lot of that feels like completely disconnected from the core canon. That's what this is, and what
Yeah,
they are having mistakes with too is by like kind of canceling things based on the loud idiots. Like
yeah,
you're also boycotting it because you liked it and they're making a bad business decision. So they're losing idiots, they're losing
right.
actual fans of the franchise. Like where are you winning in this
But
calculation of
why should I
this?
support them when, they're making these decisions, So it's like,
Right. So it's a
personally, I don't,
lose-lose for them.
yeah, I'm boycotting it for a different reason than these, far right people
And
are
that's the
for,
irony.
Star
Like
Wars
they're still
I
Outlaws. But
feel
losing.
like I
yeah,
feel like Marvel tried harder defending Jonathan Majors than Star Wars has done to anyone who hasn't committed crimes. Like
yeah.
it's
Look
like
at John Boyega
horrifying.
again
Yeah.
too. Like John
Yes.
Boyega has talked about his experience with Star Wars, and yeah, it's just a real shame. And again, I feel like it is The Last Jedi all over again because that's a movie that I came out of the theater really liking, and then to see the vitriol that it gets online, and I don't know what to do about this. Like, I think the Star Wars community is just maybe
Busted.
unfixable. Yeah. Um,
Jettison. Gotta
but
go.
again, this might
Hmm.
be a controversial opinion, but I really think that artists are at their best when they're not listening to fans and not second guessing their artistic vision, because that's when it feels focus grouped. It feels like, oh, we want to do this
Right.
to please the fans. Like, make your art and then let the fans think what they want to think. But I don't know. It's a
Like,
rough
And
time.
you know
yeah.
what, Jacob? And another thing you've said in the past, and this is not a catch up for this segment because I have not watched these director cuts, but at least something with like fucking Rebel Moon, where Zack Snyder, you've said, like, puts in
Hmm.
weird progressive stuff where there will be like non-binary characters and stuff like
Yeah.
and these people just like accept it for that. Why is it so hard for Star Wars? Like, what is the fucking issue?
Yeah. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Where's their fucking and it's
And it
space
really seems like,
yeah.
these fans come out super hard against any minority actor, any female actor, person of color,
Hmm.
LGBT. Like, do you not want those characters to exist in Star Wars? Should it only be straight white men? Is that what you're saying? Because that's what it really feels like.
Yeah,
And of
you're
course,
you're
they'll
certainly
deny that
positioning
and say,
yourself to look like the person who thinks that.
yeah. But if
Yeah.
you call them out, they'll deny and say, no, we just want, strong female characters like
I
Ripley from Alien. It's
Right,
Well,
like,
that's their
here's one I
go-to.
saw.
yeah,
Here's the most recent go-to Mike that I saw a lot was we liked Fallout and that starred a girl. And it's like, yeah, that's like the weakest argument you could fucking give.
Right.
right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's annoying. Like you can't even talk about Star Wars without getting political. That's frustrating too. You have to
Yes.
preface every conversation with an asterisk. Like even if I didn't like it, I have to be like, but not in that way. Like it's so
Yeah.
toxic, and that's really tiring too.
And again, these people will be like, this isn't what George wanted. This isn't what George wanted.
Oh my god.
George
George wanted
sold
money.
sold the franchise because you did the same thing to him that you do to Disney now. And he was so tired of dealing with these fans
Yeah.
after
Hmm.
the prequels. He's like, I don't need this shit. I'm just going to sell it for $4 billion.
Jacob, that's
Yeah.
kind of a perfect transition because let's jump to another show here. Let's
Yeah.
talk Hot D. I want to talk finale. I want to talk, thoughts, all that stuff.
Hmm.
But what do you think, Jacob, as a
Mm.
lover of that show specifically? Very recently, I think literally the day we're recording this episode, we've got content from that creator making comments about how he's not very happy and he's got to spill the gossip about what's going on in the Hot D universe. Have you seen George R. R. Martin say this stuff, that he's going to put out a big statement soon?
Oh, sure. Well, that's more about
Mm.
what came out afterwards about the finale. So obviously, the finale of Hot D wasn't super well received. And if you look at it, it's 8 episodes this season. First season was 10 episodes.
Hmm.
Game of Thrones had always been 10 episodes. What came out after about that finale is that HBO sort of dictated a lot due to budget constraints.
The
So
writer's
the
strike.
creators wanted to do 10 episodes. And that was the big problem with the finale, is that it felt like not much happened this season, and a lot of the big battles and big moments were pushed to next season.
Mm.
And sort of it came out post that a lot of that was because of budget constraints. HBO wanted to stretch this thing out, so they want to push a lot of those big moments to next season. And I think that's what George R. R. Martin is more talking about, more than specific creative decisions by the
Okay.
writers. I think he has still a decent relationship with the showrunners of the show, actually better than D&D, Benioff and Weiss, the
Hmm.
Game of Thrones showrunners, who I think he did publicly sort of have a falling out with them post like season 4 and 5. They started, asking for his input less, and by the end of that show, he basically was not involved at all, and they weren't asking for his opinions on things. And so he likes to feel involved. It's his
Hmm.
baby. He wants to give input, and it's like, well, I would do this and this, and they sort of wanted to make it their own thing by the end of it, and they were pushing him out. And I think
Yeah.
he has a better relationship with, again, the writers and showrunners on this show, where they do listen to him still. And there were some problems with season 2, but I think it's mainly due to those budget constraints.
I see. And ironically, D&D were rushing through it to do a Star War that they never got to do. So,
Right.
That's
wow.
so weird, Mike. Mike, did
A
you
tale of
did
two
you end up
franchises.
liking the season 2 of Hot D? Would you say
I
overall?
overall I did like it, but I agree that again, studio meddling. It should have been 10 episodes. Somebody said the finale felt like the great lead up to the actual finale episode. Like it was,
Yeah.
kind of built
Yeah.
And
to
it was
nothing.
season,
So,
it
a
was
bit of a
season
downer.
8. It felt like it was the episode 8, but it
Yeah.
felt like the episode 8 of a 10 episode season, not
Right.
episode 8 of an 8 episode season. And
Yeah.
traditionally in Game of Thrones, episode 9 would be when the big battle or big event happens, and then episode 10 is sort of the aftermath of that.
Hmm.
In this, there was no big event. It all felt like build up and be like, oh, tune in 2 years from now when season 3
Right.
comes out. You're gonna love it.
Jesus
And it
Christ.
did feel like, well, this kind of felt like a filler season, in that like a lot of the main players, they didn't are kind of in the same position they were at the beginning of the season. So I
Right.
understand that complaint. There was not a lot of forward momentum.
No, that's true. But they just kind of the green and the blacks, you just shuffled the box. They stayed in their own boxes. You kind of moved them around within their own
Yeah.
zones,
Yeah.
but in between each other, nothing developed. Yeah.
Like
Never crossed. That's
Damon's
interesting,
whole
Mike.
Yeah.
Damon's whole arc this season was like he ends up at exactly the same place he was at the end of season 1. It's like,
Seriously, yeah, he's like, I bend the knee to you. Yeah, he
yeah,
just didn't. None of that
bent the
mattered.
knee to her in
Imagine a
season 1,
TV
then goes
show
through
where
this whole
one
crisis.
character a whole season is just on ayahuasca the whole time. You'd be like, okay, he has to come down at some point.
And they're
Yeah.
saying budget. It's like he's been in a bedroom for half the show. Like you're not doing much over there.
And I liked what they're doing with, the Brackens and the Blackwoods. He's trying to
Mm-hmm.
organize all these different houses that have different motivations and stuff, trying to get the River Lords in check, kind of. But he's too busy, having visions and things like that. So he was going through a lot. And then it just felt like, I mean, other than the big, I think episode 4, the big
Yeah.
dragon battle was like the one big thing that happened this season. And then a
Mhm.
lot of it was just like,
Yeah.
we're amassing forces. They're not going to fight each other yet, but we're amassing. They're definitely marching somewhere.
Yeah. Again, we needed to
You
have
know.
a episode 9 event, and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And there
So
could have been
as
a big
somebody-
they used, knowing the sort of the story basics of this story. But again, I think they are saving a lot of that for season 3. And they confirmed, going to be 4 seasons long. So
Oh,
we're at the
right.
halfway point. So there's 2 more
Oh, weird.
seasons. But I think it's going to get pretty explosive. A lot of characters going to die and things like that.
Weird to say it feels like it's going to go very fast then for a show that will not wrap up for 8 more years then.
Yeah.
It's
Well, the
long.
pacing is just very weird because it's just like more could have happened this season. But of course they were setting up the whole dragon seeds, these commoners that have Targaryen blood that are riding dragons now, so they had to set all that up. And again, what they did with the Greens and what they did with Alicent, it feels like every time, like that was another character where I was just like, every time they cut to her, I was like, oh, not another Alicent scene.
Oh,
She's
Oh my
floating in a
God.
river or a lake, whatever. Who
All
cares?
right.
She was like
from
a
One Piece.
Evanescence music video this season. She's just brooding and sad.
And I think part of that is because in the source material, she becomes less of an important character later in the story because she's kind of served her purpose, and now it should be more, at least with the books frame it's more Rhaenyra versus Aegon and Alicent's children rather than Rhaenyra versus Alicent, which is very much what the show has become. But Alicent just doesn't have as much to do now. So
right,
I don't know.
I mean, it's part of the plot is her being like, oh, even my sons don't listen to me. Where's my place? Like, I get that that's her arc, but it's not engaging television, I guess.
Because it's all about, of course, this patriarchal society and how these two women are marginalized in this society, even though she's the queen and she's the mother of these kings and princes and stuff, she's still marginalized even by her own family, even by the small council and stuff. And then Rhaenyra is going through male underlings questioning her judgments throughout the whole season too. So
so I get to that there. I will be there in 2 years. A bit of a downer season, but like I'm looking forward to my buddy Sheep Stealer finally showing up. I'm looking forward to that stuff paying off. I wish some of it paid off.
We didn't even meet him, Mike.
No, we just got teased. I'm so sad.
But we did see a lot of dragons, and I thought that was very fun this season.
The best part.
You could see all the different. Yeah, go ahead.
Somebody who's not familiar with the source material, obviously, I'm not picking up on any of these like literary changes, Jacob, from where it came from. I like that you've shouted out. The man's name is Ryan Condal. Is that the fella who does this? And you said it seems like he's doing a great job adapting it. I like hearing you say that you don't think George R. R. Martin's issues are with that. But again, as somebody who's not familiar with it, I cannot help but agree with you that when I am watching event television and this whole episode is building towards this final scene of everyone on boats heading somewhere, when it rolls credits and it's like we're laughing about like coming back in 2 years, you are like, that's fucking it?
Yeah. And even that montage at the end of just like armies marching somewhere. You're not going to see what's going to happen yet, but just stay tuned in 2 years. Yeah, it really did feel like it needed some extra stuff.
Would the OG show, would it end seasons on cliffhangers? I can't even remember.
Jon Snow.
Only like, Jon Snow dying was a big one.
That was a big one.
You're right, Mike.
But generally the big thing happens on episode 9, and then episode 10 is the aftermath and characters reacting to whatever happened. The Red Wedding was episode 9.
Yeah.
The Battle of the Blackwater in season 2 was episode 9, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why I think you need 10 episodes a season to really, get the point across. But with George R. R. Martin, I do think, he might have some nitpicks, some minor nitpicks about the story creatively, but usually like it's things like, oh, the dragon on the House Targaryen banner has 4 legs. It should only have 2 legs because dragons in Game of Thrones world have have 4 limbs, but their front limbs are also wings, similar to bats.
Like a
bat, they shouldn't have 2 wings and 4 legs. They're actually more wyverns than dragons, but
that's
so I think
nerds.
But he, George R. R. Martin has a blog that he's maintained for many years that he airs out all his problems and stuff, so you'll be able to read all that soon.
When I hear that stuff that like I'm going to say all the things I find bad about it, it does make me lean towards former host Joe of this podcast, who seems to vehemently hate this man, where I am sort of like, just shut the fuck up and write your books. Like, shut the what?
Yeah,
what
well,
is your
people do.
issue?
People will say like he'll do anything but write the books, which I understand. But if he did have like writer's block is a legitimate thing, and he clearly doesn't really know how to end the series. I don't agree with Joe's take of oh, he soft launched his ending with the show, and due to the bad reception, is now second guessing and rewriting his ending.
I
I
agree
don't
with
agree
that.
with. I don't, only because I know that him and, like I said, him and Benioff and Weiss did not get along by the end of it.
Right.
So I don't think they were asking for his input on the ending. So I don't think it's that similar to. I mean, I think broad strokes maybe, but
Yeah.
I don't think they were being like, so what would you do
I
with Daenerys? What would you do with Tyrion? You know?
I have issues with Joe calling him lazy. I do unfortunately agree that he seems to have maybe blown his load and now has a huge amount of regret and just seems to be scrambling. That's just from an outsider what it looks like.
I don't disagree with that, but I think, yeah, I mean, he's definitely more interested. He's going to cons, he's doing talks, he's curating comic books and stuff. But you know, he's a fucking old man. He's allowed to do whatever he wants in his life, and if he never
Yeah.
finishes the series, I'm not going to hold it against him because he already wrote 5 novels, which is, I think, already a task in itself that he
I
doesn't
haven't written 5
get enough
novels.
credit
Yeah.
for from Joe, who thinks, oh, just finish your book. Here's my question to Joe and to anyone else. Would you rather he finished the series, but the ending was bad and people hated it, or did he just never finished it? Because I personally
Well,
prefer the second one.
I
Yeah.
think, unfortunately, what we're going to receive, and I'd like to hear what you think about this, Mike, is a mix of both where he's going to like find out he's sick at some point. This is my theory.
Yeah.
And he's just going to start putting up bulletin points on his blog. He's going to go, this was going to be this. This is where this was heading. This is this. And I think this was the finale. And we'll be like, oh, and I think it'll be a sad bastardization of both, Jacob, where it's like we won't get the book and we will get rushed, weird information.
It could be.
Yeah.
I mean, my take on this has been, I've said this before, but basically there's, in the planned 7 novel series, there's 2 left, right? The Winds of Winter and A Dream of Spring. The Winds of Winter is like, I believe, 75% written. So I do think we'll get that one. It's the 7th book that I don't think we'll get, which is the last one. So this is the penultimate book. And again, he's released chapters already and stuff. So there is stuff written for this. A Dream of Spring is what I would be worried about, and that's obviously the ending. But I also know that he's publicly, stated that he doesn't want, if he were to die before the series ends, he doesn't want someone to come in and finish the series for him, like a lot of authors do. He's very against that idea. So if he dies, then the ending just kind of dies with him. So I don't know.
Well, no, that's not true. Someone's estate will say, yes, please bring Ian Holm back. But
Right.
if there's enough demand to finish the book, someone will pay to do it anyway. But
But if he has the rights, then he can
but if
possibly
his
block
estate
that.
decides that's a lot of money,
Yeah.
anything can happen. But I
don't know what's going to happen because I think I feel like he doesn't have children. I mean, he has a wife, but I don't think they ever had children. So
Stieg Larsson, the girl with the dragon tattoo. But do you think he'll finish, Mike?
Here's my crazy theory. I think he's actually 4D chess right now, and he's going around to these cons, and he's on his blog, and he's just reading fan theories and letting them come up with the best idea, and then he can put all, because he doesn't know what to do, so he's letting the fans workshop it for him, and then he'll be like,
Maybe.
I got it. Yeah.
What if he was like, Chat GPT, what do you think?
Yeah, no, it's like people at the con like, hey, George, what is this? What's going to happen? He's like, I can't tell you. He's like, that's a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because knowing a lot about what he's said in interviews and stuff, I know he's said before that he believes authors who basically if someone were to guess a mystery or something in his book, he would not change it because that would be cheating the audience, because if they're smart enough to figure it out, then that's okay, but he's still going to stick with what he already had planned. Yeah, like the R plus L equals J, which is the famous, obviously Rhaegar Targaryen plus Lyanna Stark equals Jon Snow. Jon Snow is a secret Targaryen, was a fan theory for a very long time, not confirmed, then confirmed canon by the show. Obviously, that was his intent all along, but people just guessed that. But he's not going to go back and change that now. So I don't know, but he obviously did have writer's block for a long time with specifically the Daenerys storyline in the books, getting her to Westeros. He calls it the Myronese knot because there's so much plot threads going on in Marine, in Essos and stuff that he has to figure out. So, I could go in a lot of detail about what's going on with those books, but I just hope he does finish them one day. But if he doesn't, I'm not going to hold it against him. It's hard to write.
I say let's move on to something that requires no
Yeah.
extra thought. It seems like the most direct, oi, bullocks,
Oi.
shite
Mm-hmm.
we could talk about. Let's talk about the boys finale. Something again, I think leading up to our episode, we maybe had done a Whatcha. We were like, oh, I don't know about this. And then I think when we did our episode, we were pretty positive. But obviously, again, we haven't talked about the finale. So, Jacob, how was your reaction to that?
Now this is interesting because this might have been the best ending of the season for the three of them, right? Which I did not guess halfway through. But I didn't expect
Mm-hmm.
Hot D to let me down so much. I didn't expect the
Right.
Acolyte to get canceled, although I
No.
did like the finale of the Acolyte.
Yeah.
I thought this wrapped up pretty well. I'm excited for the last season. I like that it's a definitive ending, that it's ending next season. They set up some pretty big stuff here. And yeah, some big cliffhangers.
It
So I
is
was into it.
definitive, but we do have to remember that before we get that one, we are going to get another season of
Gen
Gen
V,
V. Yeah, it's like
we're
there
getting
is
more
more
spin-offs.
stuff.
Yeah, but with
Yeah.
this cast and with this story, it is ending next season.
Right. And I think we talked about this off pod too, but it feels like it needs to end. Like I would have been okay if it ended this season because there was a lot of characters like I gotta figure my stuff out. I gotta go on a personal
Yeah.
journey. And like everybody was kind of doing their own thing separately this season as opposed to the team working together on missions. So it did feel kind of meandering, filler, almost similar to what Game of Thrones felt like. Like we're kind of doing our own thing, and then we'll get back to the main plot for season 5. It's kind of a little bit of that
Yeah.
going on.
But I think with the plan was always 5 seasons. I know Eric Kripke did say some things like, "Oh, but we could go on further." Supernatural I originally had planned for
Oh
five
my
seasons.
No.
But I'm glad that he did commit to just ending it after 5 seasons. And I think
Yeah.
this was a good lead up to this final season, which is just going to be insane because essentially, I mean, you have Homelander doing, is now sort of the dictator of America, doing a sort of police state. All the
Right.
superhero, all the boys are fugitives now, basically. So I think it's really going
Butcher's
to be
all
pretty epic.
going crazy. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't talk, I think our last episode was the Tech Night one. So we haven't talked
Mm.
about the reveal of Venom cancer. Did you like how the power looked, Mike? Did you
Mm.
like Butcher?
That's right. And it's Jeffrey Dean Morgan is like his dark side, right?
Yes.
So like
Yes,
he's
which I
taken
guess
over.
that
Yeah, you had said,
Smart.
yeah.
But I
I'm a
think that's
genius,
fine.
but
I know
you
in the
have
comics, like
yeah.
Butcher does become like a big villain. So like they're clearly going that direction, even
Yeah.
though they've made a lot of changes. So yeah,
He's
I'm
the
excited
end
for
game
next season.
big bad. Yeah.
Hmm.
I was frustrated. I mean, just on a character level, that he killed what's her name? Head
Victoria
Popper.
Newman.
Right.
Yes. And I thought this death scene was a little bit weak, where it's like, oh, they build her up as like almost indestructible, where they, try to throw acid on her, that doesn't work. And then he just comes in her and just like pulls her in half. And also it's right when
Hmm.
it's the moment when she agrees to work with the boys to take down Homelander, and then he has to come in and fuck everything up. So that was kind of frustrating, but I know that's just that character can be frustrating because he's so stubborn and so driven
He
in his
gets in his own
belief.
way a lot. Like
Yeah,
that's his thing too. Like can he get out of his own way to be a decent person? Like that's kind of his back and forth with Huey,
right.
and that's kind of Huey was his compass. Like so I get that's his thing.
And how
But I
everything went
like Newman.
wrong with the kid, Homelander's son, where
Mhm.
I knew that was going to go wrong somehow, but it's just like, man, if Butcher was just a little bit easier to work with, maybe things would be better.
Sometimes I can get a little too influenced by memes and reactions and stuff I see online. Like I didn't like any of the reactions that anybody had to Starlight of seems like very men's rightsy of like, why is she yelling at Huey and she needs to understand that she needs to stop being a B word and you're like, okay, whatever.
Well,
But
yeah,
the Mother's Milk, like I saw a great meme pointing out that like every episode basically has Mother's Milk going like, we can't trust Butcher, and then the next episode him being like, we have to trust Butcher, Huey. It's like that's
right.
dumb. But Jacob, I will say you shared a meme that I have not stopped laughing about, which is the abduction at the end of the season, and we get Kate, the mind controller, who comes in from Gen V, who intercepts Frenchie, and the meme you posted was her whispering in his ear, "You're gay again." Screaming, no.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
it's funny. It's made me laugh at least once a week thinking about it still to this day. So
Yeah. I would say a lot of the online criticisms about Starlight, unfortunately, are very image driven about the
yes,
actress, her
yes.
face, and her decision to maybe get some work done or something. It's just like, why does that need to be brought into it? Same with Mother's Milk, where they're like, oh, he lost a lot of weight. Oh, he shaved. Just has a mustache now. He looks so different and stuff. It's like, maybe we shouldn't be commenting on actors' appearances so much, and you don't know what's going on in their personal life, that kind of
Goes
thing. So
back
it's
to
just,
the Acolyte. It's like I would honestly say being an actor now is the worst it has ever been. I don't
oh
know
yeah,
why you would ever do it. It just seems like you're setting yourself up for 1,000 billion people online to constantly critique anything you do in your life.
yeah,
that
and
is
not even
true.
about the character or the show, like the actor's appearance. It's like, man, I don't know.
That is, yeah. In the old days, you kind of had a mystique. You're like further away. You can't be touched, right? You're
Yeah,
like a mythic figure. And here it's someone asshole on Twitter is just gonna flame you for personal
that's the
stuff.
problem. I mean,
It's
it's social
crazy.
media. Everyone's too online now, and I think it's a really just a civilizational problem that we have in our time now, where it's just nothing is sacred anymore. Anyone can be roasted online for anything. It's just like everything's become so toxic. I don't know how we
I remember the
change
memes
that.
that were like Chadwick Boseman's too skinny for like 3 years. Like he looks
Yeah,
terrible. And then the reveal that
exactly.
dying of fucking stomach cancer. It's like you're all fucking
Yeah.
shut the fuck
And now you're
up.
doing that with
Yeah.
Mother's Milk. You don't know what's going on in his personal life. Maybe he just lost weight because he wanted to. Maybe he has some kind of health problem. We
Yeah.
don't know. It's not our business,
Right.
So I don't know. Kind of a
Yeah.
downer, but I did like the end of that season, and I'm excited for, again, 2 years from now, the next season.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That 2 years, and we'll have a definitive ending. So out of the things that we've talked about, one will never end because it was canceled. One will end eventually, and this one is
Sadly.
finally going to end. Yeah.
That's
Well, let's
so grim, Mike.
let's rank the three. We did it mid-season, kind of. Let's do our ranking of
Yeah.
those three. Which one
Ooh.
did we like the best? Should I go first, or you guys
Yeah.
want to?
Please,
If
go
you're
ahead.
ready, yeah.
I would say, first of all, Hot D still number one for me. Just in general, I like that show the most, even though they didn't nail the finale of that season. I'm still probably most excited about that going forward. Then I would probably put The Acolyte, because The Acolyte really grew on me as the season went on. And by the way, there's a petition to save The Acolyte that has over 60,000
Never
signatures
gonna happen,
already.
dog.
Wow.
So probably not going to happen, but it's worth mentioning that there are people that liked the show, no matter what you might read online. There are people that like the show, and for me, I kind of said this on our episode, but this is my second favorite now streaming Star Wars show after Andor. I think it's surpassed even
All right.
early
Wow.
seasons of Mando for me.
Uh,
I was really excited
right.
about it going forward, so just
Fuck,
a
should
huge
I
bummer.
finally watch Andor? That's
Yes.
so interesting,
It's the
dog.
it's the only one you should
I
have
mean,
watched.
Andor has been the best since it came out, so yeah, you should have watched it a long time ago.
Why wasn't it canceled? I mean, it really had a good viewership.
I think more people watched The Acolyte than watched Andor personally, but I think Andor, because it was set at 2 seasons, they know
Yeah.
that, and because they didn't want to do multiple seasons, like, all right, we'll give you your second season, because it was critically well received, but it didn't do huge numbers viewing wise.
The writing is easily twice as good as The Acolyte. But it's like it's the best writing of any Star Wars show. Like it's a really good script.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah, but it
it's at
just
Game
seems
of
like if
Thrones
you're
level
not
for like good writing in my book. So.
yeah. No, I think it was really well written, and like I said on our episode when we covered it, like it's not just a Star Wars show; it's like a real show set in Star Wars. Not to diminish other Star Wars shows, but it just seems like the future of Star Wars feels very bleak to me, because unless you're, a Jon Favreau pet project, or what's that other guy's name?
Dave
Cowboy Hat
Filoni.
Man.
Dave Filoni.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're not Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau, it's just never gonna they're just never going to do anything else now. Like that's what they've learned. Is like we're going to make 6 seasons of Ahsoka. We're going to make our Mando and Grogu movie. And that's what we're going to do. We're not going to try anything different. We're not going to set it in any other eras except the Skywalker era. So just get ready for more
Somebody
slop.
keeps forgetting about the Skeleton Key or whatever crew.
Oh, the most dead on arrival show I've ever seen. Yeah.
Wow.
Sure,
To
that'll
me,
get
that's
fancy.
Agatha all along, or whatever the hell that
Oh
is.
yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, true. Can't wait to rank that
Yeah,
one.
that'll be
Mike,
3 years
do you,
too late on that one.
Do you have a ranking for these 3?
But yeah, then The Boys is third for me, obviously.
Yeah, I do. Just Game of Thrones, The Boys, and Acolyte. The only thing I want jettisoned out of the Acolyte into regular Star Wars is get Khmer back. That dude was awesome. And if the whole show was just him trying to corrupt May, that's where the juice is. It's not in the police drama to me. So
I thought, I don't know, I liked a lot of the characters in that show. I think Khmer was a strong point, but I really liked Osha and May. I liked Soul. I liked
You
Jackie.
liked their mom the best.
Those were my least favorite episodes, but I thought the second half of the season got really good, and I really like where they're going with Osha and Khmer and everything, and also adding some, romance into Star Wars, which really seems like in a lot of these, like they don't have human relationships like normal people could have.
Right, yeah.
And it's just people used to want Raylo, that was a big thing.
Yeah.
And it's just people want to see romance sometimes in
Go
Star
back
Wars.
to our Search for Spock episode where I said Star Trek will always be better than Star Wars because there is fucking in this show or in this movie.
Yeah,
and I
Star Wars
be
has
astounding.
sex. Star Trek has sex. Yeah.
Yeah. Star Wars, it feels like doesn't have enough sex, even when. I mean, George Lucas doesn't understand what sex is, I think, which is why you get Anakin and Padme in the
My
prequels.
daughter came from an egg.
Yeah.
I don't know, George.
Yeah.
Here's mine. I gotta go. Well, I'm gonna go bottom up. I'm gonna say same as Mike, Acolyte. It's basically disqualified. It's like an NA because you just don't get it anymore. It's like that's.
But you can look at it now as like a one-off miniseries, I guess.
Even that, I just really wasn't hot on it the whole time. There was stuff I liked, but then just whatever. And then I'm actually going to shock you guys and go Hot D second and put The Boys up top because there were times there where, especially at the end of the season, it really did start to feel like must-see TV. Even though I called it very breezy when we did our Boys episode.
Easy breezy. Yeah, that's fair. I think The Boys had the best finale of these seasons, but is my least favorite of the 3 overall, just as a show. So
fair.
That's how I explain that. But yeah, that's TV Roundup.
TV Roundup. I guess it's a good transition to go to what else we've been watching and go into what you've been watching right after this.
We're back here on Normies Like Us, where we just got done rounding it up, and now we're going to round down what we've been getting down with on our What You Watching.
Yeah, where do we want to kick it off? What you've been watching? Actually, may I, please? Quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
This also feels like it's kind of a roundup or sort of like a continuation. So please go ahead, Mike.
I'll keep it brief, but if you're viewing on YouTube, you'll see my son has returned. My chest burster is here. We're sponsored by Wayland Yutani. And now, in addition, because I'm so alien pilled right now, I was able to get Angel City Brewery
Aspen
beer from the Alien show.
Jesus. Keep that can forever.
I've been very into Alien Romulus. I told you guys this. I was the highest on it. I have a note sheet that I won't use, but it says arguments in favor of Alien Romulus being good that is 2.5 pages long. And I've seen the movie 4 times. I saw it again last night.
Four times.
And I think it might be the second best. It could be. I still think Prometheus is number 2, but
That's
like
crazy
it
talk.
so much. Every time I watch it, I like it more. And the things that we're grading, I'm able to be at peace with and just approach it on its own terms. And I think it is really good. I think it's written really well. And I think people are getting hung up on the negatives too much. Like they're overreacting to the fan service, which there's not that much of, honestly.
You please go back and listen to that episode, listeners / viewers, however you're enjoying this content, because there is that moment where Mike gives us this speech at the end about how the entire film is about how the past is trying to, or the older generation is trying to destroy the new generation. Where literally you hear me say at the end, like the last 2 seconds, like, fuck, Mike just explained this movie perfectly, and he almost got me around to it. So,
I
and
almost
I've
got him to
passed
like
that
it.
knowledge on to people.
Yeah, yeah. And so when the older generation is gatekeeping this new vision of an alien movie, it's like you're doing what the movie says. Like, stop. You're
Wow.
being the problem.
Sure.
It looks great. Anyway, so that's my main Whatcha. I love Alien Romulus, and I'm advocating just give it another try. I wish they didn't do
Yes.
Ian Holm, but damn, I think it's such a good script. There's so many good setups and callbacks. Like the one scene I'll bring up, it's spoilers for Alien Romulus listeners, but when Kay is in the door and they're saying, Andy, open the door. I can't open the door. There's an alien there, right? Like,
Yeah.
that scene has so much weight because when Kay gets taken, Tyler loses a sister and Rain realizes she lost her brother because that's once they put in the chip and she's like, oh shit, you're not Andy. So it's but two siblings losing a sibling. It's like there's so much of that in this movie
God
and people are
damn.
just pissed off about get away from her, you bitch. Like it's written so well. I can't state that enough.
That is, and will you just very quickly mention your incoming shoes that will hopefully
Yes.
appear one day?
I ordered the Alien Romulus Reebok Special Edition Bugbuster that Rain wears in the movie. And then Kay is wearing the PF Flyers from the original. So, like, they're doing it all in this movie.
Turn
And-
into a sneakerhead, dog. I love these names
I don't
for
even
these
like shoes. Yeah. But anyway, so I will be getting the Romulus
I
shoes. Yeah.
I respect your, you going to battle for this movie.
This is my Acolyte, Jacob.
Yeah. And I understand, I feel the same way about the Acolyte where it's like, everyone stop complaining about it. It was great.
I
But
understand
we're
your
just a little
sentiment.
out of sync on this because I can't get behind it being the second best in the franchise, but I do respect your opinion on it.
Mhm.
Obviously, in our Alien episode, I talked about I watched every Alien movie, including the AVPs, in like 5 days, including Alien Romulus. And while I liked it in theaters, and I need to give it another watch, of course,
Mhm.
yeah, I wouldn't rank it second best. I think in my ranking, I had it like fifth or sixth, and it's not even a bad thing. I just really like a lot of the other Alien movies as well.
Yeah, and that's fine. I watched Alien and Aliens the day I rewatched Romulus as well, and I'm way lower on Aliens. Like I know people will drag me through the streets,
That's
so
crazy
that's
to
fine.
me. Yeah.
But we can have different opinions and still be friends. But yeah,
That's
Colin,
right.
how do you feel now that I'm trying to persuade thee?
Not even of that film, but I cannot stop thinking about the Covenant line where David says to Walter, I'll do the fingering, you blow. I've thought about those
yeah.
lines like so much recently.
I
They
love Covenant.
drive me
I love
crazy.
Prometheus because of the character of David. Yeah.
Jacob and I listened to a podcast called Get Played, where a guy on there, Nick Weiger, talks about how it is new, but his favorite thing in the world right now is Baldur's Gate 3, and how excited he gets that a new thing can become your favorite. So regardless of you saying it's your favorite thing ever, Mike, I just love the passion about something that got released in 2024. That's what I find exciting about hearing you talk about Romulus.
Yeah, I think Fede Alvarez did a great job. It's shot really well. It has so much texture. It's like one of the best looking movies in the franchise. And the fact that they were going to dump it on streaming blows my mind. But yeah, it's maybe just perfect for me because I really appreciate that side of the craft too. Like it feels.
And that's what I loved about
so
it too.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think how you feel about Alien Romulus is kind of how I felt about Furiosa, which
Right.
a lot of people liked Furiosa.
I ended up
but some
rising a lot
people-
on after seeing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Furiosa is just a movie that I couldn't stop thinking about after I saw and stuff. So, movies that come out recently can still become, some of your favorites.
By masters, yeah.
But the next time we're in the same room, I will corner you individually and give you a rambling 3-page dissertation on
I'm
Romulus.
gonna watch whatever video you make about this.
Absolutely.
I must.
yeah.
I gotta wait till I get my shoes and then I can do the whole thing.
Well, I fully accept that I have weird opinions about the Alien franchise because I was very high on Alien Resurrection, which is like a universally hated movie.
Insane.
And the Ridley Scott sequels, Prometheus and Covenant, I like a lot. A lot of people are more mixed on those. Anything with a xenomorph in it, I'm down for. So
I'll do the fingering, you blow. You guys understand what they're saying there, right?
yeah, they're playing the flute.
Exactly.
Just
What's it
two
made
gay
of?
robots named Michael Fassbender.
Somehow Alien returned. That's my favorite line.
But if you read my check out my letterbox normies if you want to. I've got reviews for all the Alien movies. And in my Covenant review, I talked about how I think it's not a good xenomorph or alien movie, but it is a good movie about two little gay robots, David and Walter, and how much I love them. And that's why I like it.
Let me give you my final pitch. Yeah, I love those two. Prometheus is my number 2, but I wanted Ridley Scott to get his crack at the third one. So with
Yes.
the end of Romulus, they have an opportunity for them to go to whatever planet they want to. And what if that's
Yeah.
David's little project planet and they don't know it? Then you can.
I don't
bring it
think
all
that's going to
around.
happen, but I would love that. But I think essentially the poor reception to Covenant got his third David movie canceled. Romulus has already made an insane amount of money. And if you compare the box office of Alien Romulus to Alien Covenant, it's not even close. So there's a
Right.
clear direction they're going with the franchise, and it's
The-
not Ridley's direction,
And it's the
unfortunately.
only film made in North America that is doing gangbusters in China since the whole disillusion of basically blockbusters being catered to China. And it's
Mhm.
obviously because people just like cool, futuristic sci-fi, cyberpunk shit. Like if we get more of that, I don't care how I feel about Romulus. So
Yeah, I guess my question is like, obviously they're going to make a sequel to Alien Romulus, and seems like it's going to be based around this Kaylee Spaney character with David Johnson character as well, the android. I would like to maybe be more, a whole new cast and a whole new alien thing, and like not following these specific characters, because I feel like they got their story with Romulus. Where do they go from here? I don't know if they can replicate the same success.
Well, again, then it just becomes, oh, here's Ripley again. What are you doing? How do we get you with the aliens? We have to come up with some contrived shit.
Right.
Who knows? But,
yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. But they're definitely going to be making a sequel based on the success of this movie. I mean, it's made over $200 million, and it had a budget of $80 million. So,
bro,
yeah.
And it looks incredible. But
yeah,
I would just be like, in my heart, I would be like, Fede Alvarez would have a way to backdoor the third David movie, do it for Ridley, but they'll never do that.
I would love that,
you're
but
right.
yeah, I feel like they want to put that behind them because Covenant was not financially successful at all. So, yeah, unfortunately.
Those are like the prequels, though. Well, they are prequels, but I think they are growing with the community too. But if I
And again,
could
we've got this
pivot-
weird Noah Hawley
Oh, yeah.
TV show, Alien
Yeah.
Earth. So we
Fuck.
got that to look forward to.
I keep forgetting. I
Um,
don't believe in TV show spin-offs anymore. They just don't exist
Yeah.
to me. Yeah.
We'll see.
But not to spend too much time on Alien, but I do want to pivot to one more thing that I'm watching that is born out of a late 60s, 70s idea. The Planet of the Apes we just did, and I finished the entire live action series and like half of the cartoon.
Cartoon?
I've never seen a Star Trek cartoon either. There's only 13 episodes of the animated show. It's called Return to the Planet of the Apes.
What? I didn't know that.
It's very goofy and I don't think very great. But
Oh.
neither is the TV show, but the TV show is fun and goofy, and it feels like it's picking up after Battle for the Planet of the Apes. There's like more humans around that can talk, and it's just like basically the humans are getting hassled by the local ape governments, and our two guys from the future go town to town and try to like solve their problems each week.
Are they also
That's with Roddy
astronauts,
McDowell.
Mike?
Yeah, they are astronauts. So it's like we have a really bad track record. 3 separate times we've had astronauts land on the planet of the apes. Like, what
Let
is
me tell you something
happening?
about space. There are other directions. You don't just have
Yeah.
to send everyone in one direction.
Yep.
And that happens before
It's a
the
big
planet
problem.
blows up, I assume.
Yeah, but this is in the new timeline post Battle for the Planet of the Apes before the humans are not speaking anymore.
Oh, okay. So it's between Battle and what would become Planet of the Apes, I guess.
I would
Yeah.
say don't think about it too much. The same thing with the cartoon, because 2 more people crash land,
Right.
and then Zero and Cornelius call him Blue Eyes, and I'm like, what is the timeline here? I don't. And that one, the apes have jeeps and cars and guns and stuff. So it's
Not Bright Eyes, Blue Eyes.
well, because it's not Taylor. It's just a different guy. She just likes naming things after how their eyes
Still.
look, I guess. Yeah.
Zero, you're better than that.
And
But I
what
would say
year
the-
was
Oh,
the show made? Yeah.
Oh, geez.
In the-
Late
in the cartoon.
70s, late 70s, early 80s, I bet, right?
Let me see. Yeah. But there's one episode, particularly episode 3 of the Planet of the Apes TV show, that I think is like legitimately very good and fun. It's like the gorilla villain and one of our heroes get trapped and have to work together. It's like one of those premises, and I think it's good. The show 74, one season, 14 episodes, and the cartoon is 75, same thing, 13
Oh,
episodes.
74 and 75. So that's pretty much right after Battle, because that was like 72 or 73,
Oh,
right?
yeah, and the main thing to put here is we do have Roddy McDowell in his final Apes role as Galen, the friend of these humans, and if nothing else, it's just fun to watch him be a little ape guy. You know, it's always fun to see Roddy going around, and he seems to be loving it. And he has some good one-liners, and you know,
Nice.
Yeah.
yeah. Second screen, so that's it. Not to go back to back, but that's what I've been
Wow.
watching.
We love it. We love apes.
Great, Doug.
I've been ape and Romulus pilled, yeah.
Apes and aliens. What if they had Planet of the Apes meets Alien
I don't think those
crossover?
monkeys would survive.
That would
I
blow
need
your
to
mind.
figure out, yeah, who. Oh, no, I thought I saw a comic book. Wait.
That'd be
That's just
great. Of
DeviantArt.
course, we know there was, Star Trek meets Planet of the Apes. We were talking about Alien versus Batman and all these weird comic
Batman's
book
fought,
crossovers they've
xenomorphs,
done.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, right in the weirdest thing that's fought an alien. Has Godzilla fought Alien? I don't know. Anyway.
Zero. Oh, the xenomorph no eyes. And you'd be like,
Yes.
Oh, Eyes. You're so cute, No Eyes.
No
you're better
eyes.
than that.
She would
Well,
think she's cute.
Here's what I want to say. This isn't necessarily a watching, but I think this is a nice little transition because obviously I talked, if you listen in our last
Yes,
Planet of
yes.
the Apes episode, my Comic-Con experience. So I just kind of wanted to wrap up just kind of talking about that experience. I'll say that I watched a bunch of things at Comic-Con,
No, I
right?
think that totally counts.
Yeah.
Visual media.
It does. I had a great time going this year, 2024 San Diego Comic-Con, one of the biggest nerd events of all time.
Hell
I
yeah.
want your guys' opinion. This is really the only thing that I want to talk about in this kind of dicey territory. So I apologize if I bring up anything that ends up getting us canceled. Obviously, you guys can
Oh,
just
no.
say no comment or something if you don't want to talk about it.
Yep, apes
I
will not
want
comment on the issue.
I'm very curious now.
the lawgiver.
Curious George.
We've talked. The last time I went in 2022, I gave you guys a big speech about cosplay isn't consent, about how we all, talked about that. It seems like that.
Yeah.
It seems to be a growing issue. Let me say this. This is what I want to say. Two different sides of how I feel about cosplaying, which is that if you decide to go to a convention and you go as Angel from the X-Men in a perfectly accurate Angel costume, and you have the biggest fucking angel wings on the planet, you cannot give me side eyes when I'm trying to get past you in the narrowest little hallway to like move to the next.
Sure.
Like you have to
Right.
think about what you're dressed as, and you have to have some self-awareness.
Yeah.
On that continued role of self-awareness, I would call these family events. I mean, obviously they're incredibly corporate sponsored. There are children there. When I went in 2022, I gave you guys a big speech about how upset I was about, COVID was still going on at certain points, and
Right.
it seemed like nobody was masking up, and so many children were there. I was worried about that alone. Now my issue is the exposure. Mike, you remember the days of past of fucking E3 with booth babes. Like that
Right.
used to be a thing of
And Anime
you get a
Expo.
girl dressed like Lara Croft Tomb Raider to get nerds to come to your booth. That's what that was, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now obviously it's changed to most people who decide to dress up scantily clad or whatever, they're probably promoting their OnlyFans, they're probably promoting their social media, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Here's just a side issue of it.
Okay.
When in these nerd spaces, obviously you want to express yourself and be yourself. There seems to be a growing contingency of people, let's say, who are of a different gender spectrum or non-binary, choosing this to be the moment of, well, this is the outlet where I can finally express myself. That's great. If I wanted to dress up like Sailor Moon, I think that's fine. I think anybody should be
Right.
allowed to do that. I don't think you should be able to walk around in a thong if you're also doing that. I don't think lingerie. I know this sounds like the most prude thing on the planet. I don't know if you guys do have an opinion on this. It seems like people now are using every trick in the book to be like, I'm allowed to do this because I'm myself and this is the real me, where it's like, buddy, I can see your balls coming out of that costume. That's not okay.
I guess I see where we're trying to determine where the line would be. I guess a thought operation, because I agree people should be able to express themselves and whatever.
Yes.
But it's like, what about a water park? Like if somebody could get away with that at a water park, I assume that's a
Okay.
family space too. So
Yes,
that's kind of where
where
I
you're
land.
wearing bathing suits. That's a very good counterpoint, Mike. I don't know.
But
Yeah.
there's like I get to like there's a self promotion aspect where it's a little more interactive. Hey, look at me, as opposed to I'm just at a public space sometimes.
Yeah.
So
But I mean, but there's
I'm more liberal. Like I'm on the bathing suit line. Like if you can wear it there, parents
Here,
should
but
know
here's
going
here's
into it.
just another side of it. You'll see posters, Mike, when you go
Mhm.
that are like, and again, I'm not a prude. I think this is great. Where it's literally like after party hentai
Right.
gathering where we will be up to adult stuff is basically what it's saying on these posters. Go to those spaces. That's fantastic. Have
Fair.
the wildest time possible. I don't think you should be allowed to walk around with a full body pillow of a naked anime girl exposed while you
Right.
yourself are also wearing something that is making me uncomfortable. And I do not get uncomfortable.
Right.
Sure.
I don't know.
I would
This
say
is
I
still
don't know if I
self-awareness.
totally agree with you because I don't necessarily have a problem with scantily clad people in front of
Yeah.
children because I think about, when I used to go to the Ren Fair or something growing up, and there would be people that,
Okay.
treat the Ren Fair as an occasion to wear very scantily clad or accentuating certain parts of your body clothing. And I would and I think it's healthy to a degree for children to see that stuff. Sometimes it's part of the normal, I think, puberty process of growing up and stuff, to see that
Yeah.
stuff and not really understand it and then later be like, I guess I'm more on the liberal side of that too, where I think it's healthy as long as it's not like, you're not like shoving it in people's faces or something. I just think if you happen to see someone walking by, I don't necessarily have a problem with
It's
that, I
true.
guess.
It's like Jacob, I wouldn't be complaining if it's a slave Leia because that to me is in my mind where I'm like, right, they are doing a cosplay of something that is like that. Like I guess
Right.
I see your point. Yeah.
Right.
And
But I guess, I
then
mean,
there's
take it on
I
a
was
case
just
by case basis where,
yeah.
some people might be crossing the line. I can see that for sure.
And organizers have rules that they're also thinking of this and enforcing. So if there is, I mean, maybe I don't know. Like I think self-awareness is big. Also, people thinking when people are dressed up like that I get to take photos without asking is also a problem. And if you have giant wings, get out of the way. Like that is all
Yes.
part of the conversation too, of being
Absolutely.
respectful.
Yeah.
Self-awareness. Like if we're putting
Yeah.
the orange caps on all the guns to be like, hey, this is a
Right.
rule, then maybe we put some tape on nipples. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
Right.
I just think it's a healthy part of sort of growing up is to see something that you're like, you shouldn't be seeing that at that age, but
Yeah.
then,
Right.
everyone does at that age. So
that makes you go like, ooh, yeah, that makes you, even
Right.
like ask your dad later, like, what was that? And it starts a conversation. Like, I see
So
what
in
you're
Return
saying
of the
there,
Jedi,
Todd.
son, Princess Leia was
It's
captured by
her
Jabba the
name
Hutt.
is Carrie Fisher,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we miss her. Yes, I don't know. Yeah,
but definitely I can see how some people might take that too far.
Yeah. I
I
mean, there's
just don't like bring a dildo. That's like again,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
I shouldn't
yeah.
have to say that, but
That's
like I
exactly.
But
saw
then
some
again, if
things
you
where
go
you're like,
to
yeah,
a pride parade or something like that, and there's people dressed in like
right.
leather
Wow.
daddy
Hey.
type
It is
stuff,
the, but
I don't
that I
know.
mean, is that a space for children?
Well, children are
I
generally allowed to go to those kind of things
Yeah,
with their families, and there are some more sort of NC-17 rated things there that they might see, and I think that's
yeah.
just a healthy part of growing up.
What if there was a line through the convention center? And I'm not saying like adults, so like it's not like a 18 plus can only, but like you
Right.
see a sign that's like from beyond here, you might see some crazy stuff.
Right.
Like that seems consensual to me.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when they have blanket NDAs for film, entering this area, you are, that kind of thing. Yeah, I think that's
Yes.
a reasonable
You're
thought.
going to
But
see a full, painted X-Men movie Mystique, body paint where you're like, she is not wearing clothes.
Anything.
Like there is nothing going on here.
well, the
Right.
character technically didn't wear clothes, Colin, so it's accurate. It's
Yeah.
accurate.
You can
It's
watch
all
X-Men and
accurate.
see Rebecca Remain.
I believe it is all accurate. But and just because you guys had asked me what kind of did we see, obviously a lot of Deadpools, a lot of Wolverines were the most
Yeah.
popular. I told you guys the number one, and it's impossible to make sexy, was the Fallout jumpsuits, the
Yeah,
Vault Boys
sure,
or whatever.
sure.
That that to me, it's like we're all having fun with that. So
Don't
Yeah.
say impossible. The internet will hear you.
I'm sure you saw some Deadpools and Wolverines doing the in sync dance.
Yes, of course. Yes.
I want to do a
yes.
Fallout pool.
Yeah, do them all.
The red
know.
jump-
That's the
other
thing with
one that-
Deadpool is there's so many variants you could do that are fun that yeah, I think that could be fun.
Or it seems like the laziest version is yes, Jacob, you do a Deadpool that's like I'm Cowboy. They basically
Yeah.
do the end of that movie. But it also seems like eventually somebody just goes, I'm this whatever Fett. I'm wearing a Mando helmet.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm
Sure.
a naked dude with lingerie on, and you're like, okay, that's again,
Yeah.
interesting.
I will be going in my Khmer from the Acolyte costume, which is also scantily clad. So
Yeah.
get ready
Yep.
for that. It's the scene where he goes in the
pool.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
It's on the
Yeah.
white robe.
So
How
just
do
be
they
wearing the
cancel
mask.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
you
the
can't.
mask.
I don't want any of these people canceled. I want that. I
Let Han
want them
Solo
to
her.
be in a space where they can express themselves. I want that to be stated. It's just I
Yeah.
do grapple with it when again I turn and look and there's a family of 12 8-year-olds who are literally like looking at the person I'm looking at and truly they look disturbed and I'm like, oh no.
Sure. And
Prepared
again,
to
I
answer
just think,
questions at home later. Like, what
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
heck was happening? It's like,
and maybe there should be certain areas that are 18 and over and certain areas that are more kid friendly. But yeah, if you go to something like that, if you take your kids to that, then it's sort of expected that they might see some things like that. Or if you go to Anime Expo or something like that, where there's a lot of
Some
cosplay
of
in
the
that too.
boosts are you just walk by and you're like, what's this artist sell? And it's pinups. It's like
Yeah.
Alice in
Mhm.
Wonderland with her tits out. And there is no censorship. And that's the drawing they're selling. And again, you're kind of like, and like next door is the Hulu presents, like 20th
So that's
Century
just-
Fox booth. It's like, what do they as huge conglomerates think about that? That's so
'cause
interesting.
at
Yeah.
Anime Expo, at least, when they have NSFW like artists, they have to have it not displayed. Like they have to cover it up. And if they
Yeah.
want
Right.
you to like do a walkthrough gallery, it has to be a completely walled, like separate thing.
Yes.
that You have to show that you're
Right.
18 to enter. So at least the artists that are
think there
creating
should
that
be-
stuff have to censor it
Interesting.
at AX.
If you're
Yeah.
So
seeing basically like pornography or something like that, then that should be a separate
Yeah.
area of the hall that's specifically no one under 18
Hall
allowed. Or something like
34
Yeah.
is what I would call it.
Right. Perfect.
I like
Yeah.
that, Mike.
Thank you.
I get you. That's
Um,
that's my main thing. That's just the big thing I noticed predominantly this time. I also did see Bo DeMaio canceled X-Men 97 creator with the shortest shorts I've ever seen, just hugging every fan who walked up to him. So
Sure.
it is a place where you do feel a predominant sexual energy the entire time you're walking around. It's
And part of that is just due to the way pop culture is consumed now by where these, comic books and things like that, these used to be for kids and now they're for 30-year-olds who used to be kids. And it seems like
Yeah.
there's a very
Want
big
to
shift
act
in
like
the audience.
kids,
Yeah.
but also want to be like as randy as teenagers. There is a
Yeah.
strange energy, Jacob. You're right.
hmm
But with Bo DeMaio, I mean, I don't know everything that's going on or what happened with him. It is interesting that they came out and said like, no, there were specific reasons why we fired him and it's not good or whatever, but there's
Trust
not
us.
obviously a lot of detail there, but obviously
Mm-hmm.
we loved X-Men 97, so it's a
97.
little
So good.
it's a little weird to think like, oh, we love what this guy did with the show, but also he got fired right before the show came out for unspecified reasons, but they're probably pretty serious. So I don't really know what to think about that guy.
Wouldn't be the first time I was conflicted between art and artist in a comic
Right.
book space. You know what I
There
mean?
we go.
Speaking of conflicting
Unfortunately,
spaces.
it's all too common. Yes.
Well, let's talk about a comic thing I feel good about. Now, Jacob, you've
Wow.
brought this up. I think 4 episodes. You know, you've said like we're getting to this project you've been working on. You've been working in the background on something, and I want to hear it unleashed.
So yeah, this was sort of my big summer project that I decided to do for some reason. I don't know if it was a good idea. I don't know if I learned anything from it, but I decided to basically, so DC animation. DC has been making animated movies for a long time, starting with, of course, Mask of the Phantasm, which was an extension of the Batman animated series show in the 90s, which led to a whole, it's called the DCAU, the DC Animated Universe, which included the Justice League, Superman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, Static Shock, etc. And so they started making these movies. They made Mask of the Phantasm, which was a theatrical released movie. Then they made 3 other movie spin-offs of those shows, including Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker. And then from like the mid 2000s until current day, they really started pumping out these DC animated films. A lot of them are standalones. Some of them are connected to a bigger universe, which I can talk about. And this all started when I watched one of them on HBO a while back, a couple months ago. I watched Crisis on Infinite Earth Part 1, and I was like, you know what? I really want to go back and watch some of these old DC animated films. I looked on HBO because they used to all be on HBO Max, where you could just watch anything you wanted. A lot of them are not available on streaming anymore for some reason. And I was just like, this sucks, man. I want to watch these movies. I found through less than legal methods, let's say, I was able to get a pretty comprehensive collection of everything made from the 90s to current day. It's something like, well, I think I ranked 62 movies that I've seen in the past 2 months.
Wow.
I really started about halfway through June. I started working on this. And so I decided to go back, and I was like, I really just want to watch the DC AMU, which is this connected universe that started in 2013. And then I was like, you know what? Just to be an insane completionist, let me go back and watch them all in chronological order, watch as many as I can. And so that's what I did. And so I made this ranking on on Letterboxd. If any normies want to check it out, I will put a link in the YouTube description and whatnot. But this is sort of a living document. I've been working on it for the last couple months, like I said, and I feel pretty good about it. But I've watched 62 movies, and so that's where I'm at.
Wow. And I'll just say this, please obviously drop that link, like you said, in the description for the list. But as somebody who follows you on Letterboxd, I would also urge our listeners to check out your individual reviews of those films, which have been how I've been tracking your progress on this, and I've found all of your wording fascinating. So,
and as I mentioned before, like I'm perennially behind on my reviews, where I'm like 2 weeks behind constantly because I just can't write these reviews as fast as I watch things. I'm also really lazy, so but I do try to put effort in.
Like choose, yes, it takes effort. So
yeah, I try to put effort into them so I can do like 3 to 5 max in a day, and I don't do them every day because again I'm lazy. So I'm constantly trying to catch up to current effort. Yeah. But I really I try to make good reviews, and I try to put a lot of thought into them. And I don't know who they're for, but it's just a hobby for me. It's just fun. They're for Colin mostly. Yeah.
Right. Well, similar to this show that we're doing here, it's like I like the idea of having a record of like my opinions at a point in time. Then kind of revisit it, see if you've changed. Yeah.
And I love making ranked lists in Letterboxd, like ranking the Alien franchise, ranking whatever. We've done a bunch of them on this podcast. So if anyone wants to check that out, I'll make that ranking available. But I guess what I learned from this is that a lot of these movies I had a lot of fun with, and a lot of times it's not the ones that you would expect to like, and then you're pleasantly surprised that it was better than better than expected. So, and I guess what I learned too is the variedness of a lot of these, like the varied tones, the varied
Mhm.
atmospheres, genres. Like
Hmm.
DC Comics can be a lot of things, and I've said this plenty of times before that I'm a DC guy over a Marvel guy.
Yes.
Since I was a kid, I love the DC world. I love Batman. I love the Flash. I love Green Lantern. All these characters. And so yeah, so they've made a ton of different movies. Like I said, different genres. Some very serious, some comedic. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
You know what I've learned as a comic book fan, and I found this to be an incredibly interesting point that you made. Um, One, I think he is. You didn't list him just there in your favorite characters. I think this is a real standout character for you, and probably Mike as well. I think you're a John Constantine head, my friend.
Yes, John
Yes,
Constantine, underrated character, and I've
yes.
really with these DC movies, I've grown to really like him too. You're
You
absolutely
brought it
right.
up in your Justice League Dark review. I believe that's just what that title is, right? It's just
Yes,
Justice League Dark,
Hmm.
where Batman teams up in the House of Mystery or whatever bullshit it is.
that's
That
absolutely right.
that John Constantine is kind of the perfect foil to Batman as a normal guy who is always surrounded in extraordinary circumstances. I like that John Constantine is an extraordinary guy in extraordinary circumstances who can be like, fuck you, this is bullshit. Meanwhile, Batman has to
Yeah,
be more normal and accepting. I think they're really good counter. I would love to see them meet up in James Gunn's universe just because I think that's a really cool combo, as you've pointed out.
totally.
Nice.
And what's cool with Constantine in these movies, so um obviously, so there's the Arrowverse, right? We all know the Arrowverse, the shows, DC shows.
You can tell from my tattoo of Stephen Amell.
That's right. And one of those shows, they did a single season. I believe it got canceled, unfortunately, but it was a Constantine show
Yes.
starring a guy named Matt Ryan as Constantine, not the former Atlanta Falcons quarterback, Matt
Oh,
Ryan. Uh, but Matt Ryan played Constantine in the show. The show gets canceled. Then he reprises his role as a voice actor in these John Constantine movies. And so he appears in Justice League Dark, which is a part of this DC AMU, which I'll talk about. This started with Flashpoint Paradox, which was sort of a wiped clean the whole continuity of DC and restarted it. And they decided to do this connected universe in the animated movies from 2013 to 2020. Then, due to
that
another
long.
universe
Wow.
wiping thing, yeah, they did another connected universe part two of the DCAMU called the Tomorrowverse.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, John Constantine appears in Justice League Dark. Then he has his own spin-off movie called Constantine's City of Demons, which was actually a online web series that was then edited into a full-length movie. But
Hmm.
it's the same character design and the same voice, Matt Ryan, as Justice League Dark, but it's sort of a separate continuity where he doesn't really reference anything that happened in Justice League Dark. And then he appears again in Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, which is the finale of the whole
That
universe.
movie rules.
Hmm.
That
Yeah,
movie's awesome.
that movie is fascinating because it's essentially an experiment of what if these comic book characters didn't have plot armor and just could be killed and gruesomely and viciously as you can imagine. All of these heroes that
Whoa.
you love are, slaughtered. And that movie ends with the entire universe being wiped because John Constantine, who's a major part of this movie, tells the Flash, look, you got to go back. You got to do it again. You got to do another Flashpoint. We fucked up this universe beyond
Hmm.
repair. The only way to do it is wipe the slate clean and start over. And that's where the
Mhm.
Tomorrowverse comes in, which is this new connected universe that ran from 2020
He's
until 2024.
he's
Yeah.
also fucking King Shark in that movie. Is that right? He's like
He says
dating King
King
Shark.
Shark was his ex, he says. Yeah. He has a relationship with Zatanna in these movies,
Oh,
which is
that's right.
which is
That's
nice.
cool.
Yeah.
Mike, that movie has a dirty, filthy Superman who
Mhm.
has been injected with kryptonite and has no powers. And when he gets them back, spoiler to you and I guess anybody
Mhm.
listening, I remember it being like one of the most heroic Superman moments I've ever seen in fiction. Like I really like
Yeah.
that in that
And this is the
Wow.
depiction.
same Superman that was already died and came back in the death of Superman. But basically, this whole universe-ending event is Darkseid, which is essentially the Thanos of DC.
Right.
Darkseid, he's a new god. Basically, he's from the planet of Apocalypse, and he wants to conquer Earth. Obviously, but he fucks things up so much that they're like, we need to restart this universe. But they try to surprise attack him basically, and he basically just kills a bunch of the Justice League, brainwashes Batman into becoming his like servant for a while.
Oh,
It's
whoa.
fascinating.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, to put it in
That sounds
terms,
good.
it's like it's the Avengers Endgame of this universe in scale and ambition, and like anyone can die at any moment, and it's fascinating. And I would definitely recommend like if you just watch that movie, you're not going to get the full impact of it. But if you start with essentially start with the Flashpoint Paradox, Justice League War, go through all the different movies in this connected universe, and then watch Justice League Dark, and you see how they took all these different characters and their storylines and like the way they end and everything.
Love it.
It's fascinating. Yeah.
Nice. And I do like some John Constantine. Famously, my film school was very close to the little hot dog burger stand that he goes to in that movie, and they put a picture up of Keanu Reeves, and I was like, oh yeah, let's go get some Constantine dogs.
I want to make a retcon announcement here. I am wiping Lego Batman from my draft, and I'm putting in the Keanu Reeves Constantine movie.
Yeah.
I need to rewatch that
he
one
wants
now that
he wants to come back. So James Gunn could be like, hey, Keanu. It's like, yeah.
Not blonde.
No, but to me now, Constantine is Matt Ryan, and that's the Constantine I know now. And he's this, the character model in this movie. He's like this blonde guy, but basically, yeah, he doesn't want to do anything superhero related. He's just like, I just want to live my life and like do magic and stuff.
No, he's constantly
he's just constantly smoking and just like, man, I just need a beer or something.
Yeah, Legends of Tomorrow, he eventually comes on, and it is Matt Ryan reprising him for like I think 2 seasons, one of the later seasons, and he's constantly chewing Nicorette gum to not smoke. It's the worst. Dog.
Yeah,
on TV.
But just to get him back for the voice of this John Constantine is great, and yeah, him teaming up with Batman and Justice League Dark, and it's sort of Batman teaming up with the magical side of the DC universe, where you have Zatanna and Jason Blood, aka Etrigan the Demon, and all these great characters.
Chimp, it maybe makes a cameo. I can't remember.
Who?
Detective Chimp, is he also in that one?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Dead Man is, who's like a guy who's a dead guy who can go into people's bodies and control them. But Constantine's City of Demons is a fascinating movie. Like I said, it was a web series, and essentially, basically, John Constantine at one point has sex with the physical embodiment of the city of Los Angeles as a human, which is very interesting. But that movie is very violent and graphic, and they can do stuff that they couldn't necessarily do in like a Batman or a Superman movie. And it's very good. I liked it a lot.
The fact that it was a web series edited into a movie, that they have these capstone films that sum up their entire history, and then the fact that you cannot watch these films on an app called the Warner Brothers streaming app anymore. Like it really gives you a history.
And you used to be able to.
Up all this shit is. Yeah.
They've taken so much stuff off streaming, it seems like. But I will say, if you go on certain piratey type websites, ahoy, you can find the entire, like, people have compiled like every DC animated film and put it up there for your use. So
it's frustrating.
I guess,
that you have to do that. Like we pay for a service for the company with whom you assume the rights would be held. They don't host it. I went through the same thing with Godzilla, which I'll briefly mention, but it's like you have no choice unless you want to track down a DVD on eBay and wait a couple there's no way to watch this stuff, and it's like
I will say
paying you. Come on.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
On the subject of Godzilla, Mike, you might find this interesting. I subscribe to the Criterion channel, which is a really cool streaming service that I like a lot, that has just a lot of really obscure older stuff. And it has a lot of Godzilla movies on it, actually. And so I don't know if it has them all, but it has a lot of, especially like the older, like 60s and 70s era. So you might like that, but that's
For-
a streaming service that I'm a big fan of.
I mean, I love the Criterion Collection as an
Yeah,
institution, and then the work they do. So nice.
right. And so you can watch a lot of movies that are Criterion releases on that streaming service.
Nice.
But I do want to shout out a couple that surprised me. I mentioned to Colin and Joe before, but Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a lot of fun, and I wasn't even expecting that much, but it was better than I expected, and it's just
Wow.
I mean, it sounds kind of gimmicky, but sometimes the most gimmicky ones are like the funnest to me.
Yeah.
And so I had a real blast with that one. There's another one I watched recently that I think you guys might like called Batman Soul of the Dragon.
Have
I don't know if you've heard of this one at all, but they do these sort of Elseworlds type stories where it's it's Batman set in a different time or a different genre or something. This one, Batman Soul of the Dragon, is essentially what if Batman was in a Bruce Lee movie from the 70s?
That's cool.
Uh,
Okay.
It's homaging like
That's
70s martial arts films, black
Why?
exploitation, James
Wow.
Bond, and it's so fun. Like I was not expecting anything, but I had a blast with this one. It has a character named Richard Dragon who essentially is Bruce Lee. So it's So it's Batman teaming up with this Bruce Lee looking guy. It has Bronze Tiger, who Colin, I know you watched that Suicide Squad movie with Bronze Tiger in it, but he's in this one. He's like a 70s blaxploitation guy with an afro.
Shaft.
Yeah, it's got Lady Shiva, and basically they team up and do sick martial arts, and it's very 70s inspired, like with the music and everything. It's a lot of fun, actually. I was not expecting anything, but I really enjoyed that one.
And I've seen other ones that I haven't watched them, but I've seen like the trailer for like Batman Ninja. Like that seems like another. Have you seen
Batman
that?
Was that
Ninja.
bad? Is that bad?
That one I haven't got to because I was really
Gotcha.
trying to get as many as I could. I hit most of the major ones. There's like 5 more I need to watch, and even in the past week and a half, I've really been cramming them just to try to get as many done by this episode as I could. But Batman Ninja is on my list, and it looks interesting. I don't love the animation from what I've seen, but
Yeah.
that one is very like,
But like,
yeah.
to Mike's point, like the Batman by Gaslight, which is like the
Gotham by
steampunk hunter
Gaslight.
serial killer, or like Jack the Ripper, right? I mean,
Yeah,
like,
Jack the
it's
Ripper,
like,
exactly.
mainly they're just like, well, we can make money off Batman, so let's just kind
Right.
of spread him around.
Right.
Yeah, Gotham by Gaslight is sort of a Victorian era Batman with Jack the Ripper. There's Batman Doom, the Doom that came to Gotham, which is very Lovecraftian, Lovecraft inspired, which was I didn't love that one. That one wasn't
I
great.
haven't seen either of those.
But again, for these weird Elseworld ones, Soul of the Dragon is my favorite. They
Nice.
really nailed the homage. Like if you love 70s martial arts films and stuff, I would say this is kind of a must watch because
It's a Mike
it's
movie, yeah.
it's really just a love
Yeah.
letter to those films. Yeah.
Does Batman ever fight Godzilla? That might also be made for Mike.
Right.
No, but there is one where there's one called Superman Man of Tomorrow, which was the first Tomorrowverse movie where it's essentially becomes a kaiju movie by the end of it where he's fighting a giant kaiju. That one's kind of fun.
Well, it's like Suicide Squad. The Suicide
Yeah.
Squad with a big starfish.
Yeah. It's
Exactly.
a friggin' kaiju up in this bitch. Yeah.
That's right.
And I will say what I've sort of learned by watching all of these, obviously Batman is by far if you're looking at what are these movies about, Batman gets by far the most solo movies. Then you get Superman. He's had 5 or 6 solo movies of varying quality. And I did kind of gain a new appreciation for Superman from some of these movies. Then you have Wonder Woman. She's had 2 solo movies. Green Lantern, there's been 3 Green Lantern solo movies. The Flash kind of gets ripped off. Like a lot of these characters, I feel like they don't get enough love. They don't get enough solo movies. People, DC is so focused on Batman, who I love, but they have other characters, and really you see them more in team ups like Justice League movies, Teen Titan movies, and those kind of things.
Is Flashpoint Paradox the only Flash movie?
Well, you can say, Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1 is very Flash focused.
I haven't seen that one. Okay.
Yeah, and then he will pop up in like Justice League movies and stuff, but in terms of making him the central character, yeah, it's like
That's such
Flashpoint might
bull-
be the
He
only one.
had
Yeah.
10 seasons or something of a CW show. Like,
Right.
got here, people. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus
Green
Christ.
Arrow is another character that gets shafted. Like Martian Manhunter is a character that I love that they could do so much with. Like they have a deep roster, and it feels like, oh, we've got to make another Batman. We've got to make this Superman. Wonder Woman, even part of their big three, gets totally shafted. And I really liked Wonder Woman 2009, which is a movie they made in 2009. But even her movie in the DCAMU, which was called Wonder Woman Bloodlines, not very good. So I don't know. But recently, so there's the Tomorrowverse, right, which started in 2020. Justice League Dark Apocalypse War wipes the slate clean. They start this new universe, very different animation style, sort of divisive. Like you either kind of love it or hate it. It sort of grew on me. But this one they did make, Green Lantern Beware My Power, which is a Jon Stewart Green Lantern movie, which is interesting. They made Legion of Superheroes, which is basically the 31st century version of the Justice League. And that kind of focuses on Supergirl, which is Superman's cousin, obviously. But I guess the main thing I learned is that there's a lot of these I like, and there's a few that I really like, a few that I really didn't like, but mostly they're pretty consistent in quality of like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. Some of them rise to, oh, that's better than I expected. But a lot of them are just like, yeah, that's pretty fun. That's what I expected.
But
So
first is the best to you. Like, none of them beat Mask of the Phantasm.
no, I think they nailed it the first time.
Okay.
I mean, Mask of the Phantasm was great. I mean, my top 4 are Batman movies before I get to any other character, but I had that first.
That rules. That
Yeah.
sucks, dog. That's such
It just
bullshit.
shows that DC can do so much more. But Batman Beyond Return of the Joker is my number 2. Under the Red Hood, number 3. Lego Batman, number 4. That's Colin's favorite.
Right.
But yeah, you can see the whole list if you're interested. What else do I want to say about it, really? There's 3. Most of these are direct to streaming or direct to DVD. The only 3 theatrically released movies on this list are Mask of the Phantasm, Lego Batman, and Teen Titans Go to the Movies, which was a theatrically released film about Teen Titans
that
Go.
one's good, right? You like that one?
That's pretty good, yeah.
Pretty funny, yeah.
I like that one, even though I don't like Teen Titans Go.
Always Harley Quinn in all these movies, or no?
No. There's been different actresses played Harley Quinn, different actors played Batman of mixed quality,
And he obviously will never have Kevin Conroy again, unfortunately.
Yes, but he does pop up in a lot of these. Terror Strong is interesting. Well, the Teen Titans is interesting because obviously there's the Teen Titans that was on when we were younger, the more realistic looking Teen Titans, and then they became Teen Titans Go, which is sort of a reimagining with a different art style, but same exact voice cast. So the 5 actors that play the Teen Titans still play them, and Teen Titans Go has been going continuously off and on since like 2007 or whatever. So that's kind of interesting. And Tara Strong plays Raven.
Right, yeah.
Right. But yeah, I mean, really not too much more to say. It was a fun project to do. I do want to shout out. So a lot of these are directed by the same people. A lot of these people are storyboard artists or character designers who sort of got promoted to directing these animated movies. So I want to shout out a couple of the main people that directed a lot of these movies. So shout out to Sam Liu, Lauren Montgomery, Jay Oliva, Ethan Spalding, Bruce Timm, who's created the Batman original series or the animated series, Kurt Gaeta, Brandon Vietti, Matt Peters, Chris Palmer, Jeff Wamester, Jake Castorena, Justin Copeland, Michael Chang. So shout out to them. They don't probably get enough recognition that they should.
Jay Oliva, sorry, just real quick. Jay Oliva, who's probably maybe the most famous out of that list you just read, Jacob, is like Zack Snyder's like partner. Like he storyboarded all the DCEU movies. He I believe storyboarded Rebel Moon as well, and I believe is about to do whatever weird Norse cartoon for Netflix they have about to come.
Oh wow. Yeah, he's done a lot. Sam Liu is also, he's directed a lot of these movies. So shout out to that guy. He's killing it. And yeah, a lot of these are based on specific comic storylines, but a lot of them are original storylines too. So it's just a very varied list, but a lot of consistent quality.
Nice. I assume you get a lot less hate on the internet from working on these as opposed to anything live action. So you
Probably.
might take
True.
that.
Yeah. Although you might be surprised, like some of these projects, they were kind of controversial when they came out, and some of them are not as well liked, which is interesting.
But to Mike's point, the worst they're gonna say is like, "Well, you're not Kevin Conroy." They're not gonna talk about what you look like, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
It's like,
How you
shut
kill
the
yourself.
fuck up.
The sad thing with Kevin Conroy is some of his last few performances are in movies that are pretty weak.
Yeah.
Like there was a movie called Batman and Harley Quinn that just came out a few years ago that one of my least favorite, and that's Kevin Conroy. And then Batman the Killing Joke, that's Kevin Conroy, and that's a very controversial one because there's this whole weird sexual relationship with Batman and Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, that wasn't in the original comic storyline, but they just added it to this movie. And there's a lot of weird sexual power dynamics there. And that one was very, very controversial when it came out. I'll just say that.
And the other one you just mentioned, Batman and Harley Quinn, doesn't that one have the scene where Harley Quinn rapes Nightwing, basically?
Kind of, yeah. Basically, Nightwing gets a boner watching her change outfits, and then she's like, "Oh," and then they have sex. And then there's another scene in that movie where she farts in the Batmobile, and then Batman smells it, and says, smells like discipline." Very weird
I
movie.
think Paul
Don't
Dini
like it at all.
just lost his mind.
Whoa.
Is
Yeah.
the moral of the story there?
Yeah,
Both
and this is
those
a lot of the
films.
people behind
Yeah.
Batman the Animated Series. So it's a very strange movie. This was like 2017. And this was, they were trying to bring Harley Quinn back. I mean, she's been done a few times, but
Do you
Injustice
have-
was another one that I hated. Yeah, sorry.
Not a movie. Do you have any interest in that current Amazon Prime series, the one that like makes like Batman in the 40s, Batman Caped Crusader, I think it's called?
Oh, those are in my list. There's Batman the Cape Crusader, and there's Batman versus Two-Face, which is the sequel to that. And both of those are Adam West voicing before he died, with Burt Ward voicing the Robin. But yeah, very inspired by the Adam West's Batman show.
Okay.
I haven't got to those yet. They're not totally like super interesting to me. Like it's an interesting idea, but it's not really my thing. But I'll probably get to them at some point because they're part of this collection that I've downloaded. And then I do want to check out that Suicide Squad isekai that you like so much, because I'm on such a DC animation run here. I might as well watch that.
I'm proud of you for doing this job.
I'm impressed.
Just taking
Yeah.
a project. Yeah, it's like when Mike was doing all his Godzillas. So.
Or the Grudges.
I will say there's if you're into Suicide Squad, there are 2 Suicide Squad movies. There's Batman Assault on Arkham, which is based in the Arkham video game world, and that's with Kevin Conroy. And then there's Suicide Squad Hell to Pay, which is set in the DC AMU universe with Christian Slater as Deadshot. So there you go.
All right. Yeah.
But I could go on for hours about this probably, but I won't subject you to that. I will say if you want to see, my ranking, check that out. And yeah, I had a lot of fun watching these movies.
I feel like I'll rewatch Mask of the Phantasm and then maybe just get hooked and just follow your list. Like just go to
That would be
number
great.
2 and see how that feels.
To the top one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can watch
run that
or
one.
it's Mask of the Phantasm. Then there was Batman and Sub-Zero. That one's not very good. That was sort of a special like spin-off movie that they made around the time that Batman and Robin came out, right? Because of Sub-Zero.
Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze was such a big thing.
I mean, I'm counting down the days till that thing released at Blockbuster. That's so wild.
Yeah, and that was my least favorite of these Batman original 4.
Sure.
It's just not very good. But then they made Mystery of Batwoman set in that universe, and then Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. So
nice. I've been advocating
that
for a
one out.
live action Batman Beyond for a long time. Like that's when you get Michael
That would be
Keaton
great.
back to just be old
Yeah.
Wayne.
Motherfuckers.
If you wanted to do that, yeah. That's
I had
how
an
I get
idea, and I mean this is years too late at this point, but Clint Eastwood as old Batman
Oh
in the
shit.
Batman Beyond movie like 15 years ago would have been great. He's like 90 million years old now, but
Right.
yeah, but he would have been the perfect old Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a Batman Dark Knight Returns two-parter, which is an old Bruce Wayne, Frank Miller. And I'll shout out Long Halloween as well. That one is a
That
two-parter,
one's
and I like.
pretty famous.
Yeah, and well, what I learned from watching these is that Matt Reeves, the Batman, is very much inspired by both Long Halloween and Batman Year One. It kind of takes elements from both, mixes it together, and I didn't realize that it was so inspired by that. But like, Batman and Catwoman being in a relationship, Catwoman being the illegitimate daughter of Carmine Falcone, like those are all taken from Long Halloween. So interesting, which is a Two-Face movie. But yeah. So
Again,
any other
this is an
questions?
impressive list.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't come up with a bit. How many total are there? Do you know? Like I see on the list here, there's over 100 of these. That is wild.
I have 62 that are ranked. When I originally made this list, I just dropped everything in there that's a DC animated movie. That's including Lego DC movies, which there's a whole bunch of. There's
like the girl branded ones.
DC superhero girls.
Yeah.
There's even Teen Titans Go meet the DC superhero girls. So there's a lot of stuff that I probably won't watch.
Right.
But,
don't skip that one.
Yeah.
Justice League X Ruby. That's a crazy thing I never thought would exist.
Yeah. And there's even Batman, Scooby-Doo and Batman Brave and the Bold. There's Batman versus Dracula. There's 3 Teen Titans Go movies, including Teen Titans Go versus the Teen Titans.
Right.
And there's Teen Titans Go see Space Jam. So I'll have to see what that's all about.
I think that's just a commentary track for Space Jam, dog. I don't think you need to watch that one.
No, I you gotta include.
I'm a completionist.
Right. But if you look on my list, I say the top 62 are ranked currently, and then I'm expanding as I go because I had this list on private and I was messing around with it for a long time, adding the movies as I watched them. And it's a living document. It's kind of gone through a lot of revisions where I'm like, do I really like this one better than this one? And I'll move them around a bunch. But it's hard to rank that many movies when they're sort of all consistent in quality of like, which one do I really think is better? But
when you give 20 films in a row out of over 100 3 stars, it's like, then you're like, it's so granular of like, well, this one's over that 3-star. This one's under this 3-star. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Because they've all, pretty much all of them are like in the 3.5 to 2.5 star range. So they're in that middle range. There's a couple really excellent ones. There's a couple real stinkers. And then a lot of them are just kind of in that average. Yeah. But it's fun.
Well, it's impressive. And I'm looking forward to the definitive entire 100 finished ranking in a couple months.
Oh, boy.
We have 10 episodes from now on our next Whatcha.
When you'll have it knocked out of there.
Yeah. I might be mostly done after I finish. Like, there's like 5 more that I need to knock out.
That's fair. That's a good prep for you. But I love
maybe
that.
Maybe I'll do Marvel animation after this. Who knows?
Is there anything else anybody wants to shout out in the What You Watching section here?
I think I'm pretty covered. I mentioned I'm slowly finishing Godzilla that I haven't seen. I watched Hedorah recently, and that's the Heisei era, and that's some of the ones that are kind of lost on streaming platforms. So
see this bullshit,
like Biolante
Let
and
us
stuff.
watch this stuff. That's such
sad state of affairs. For me, last couple of months I've mostly been watching these movies. I do mix in like real movies every couple of days because I can't just watch these or I would go insane. But in the past week and a half, it's been a lot of DC animation. I watched Love Lies Bleeding, like that a lot.
Nice.
I watched some other things, but mostly, just been a lot of Batman.
I've kind of found myself on the opposite route as I, in just life reassessment stuff, have lost the person that I primarily talk to about movies. I find myself drifting away from those and maybe trying to fill the void. I've become incredibly anime pilled. I guess maybe to just find some common ground between my brother and I to shift those conversations over that I'm now lacking. And like you said, I've been watching like Isekai. I just caught up on Demon Slayer. I don't know.
Wow.
Maybe that's just where I'm gonna end up. I don't
See,
know.
I'm so behind
And
on
what
that stuff.
yeah, what's some anime stuff that you've been watching other than those that you would
Zom
recommend?
100 is a big shout out. That's one that I watched when I was like caught in a bad job. That's very much about somebody who's happy the zombie apocalypse has happened because they want to be free of the terrible job that they were working. I absolutely adored that setup.
Sure.
Well, that looks like fun
Interesting.
series.
Yeah.
Nice. I know they're going to do, this is kind of a side note, but I saw that they're doing a limited theatrical run of Ninja Scroll again. And I'm
Yeah,
like, now
yeah.
that might
Shout
be
out.
something
I
worth
mean,
checking out.
the fucking OG. The thing about Demon Slayer, because my brother is now shared over a Crunchyroll's subscription, so I'm doing all the like My Hero Academia, like truly like the most like normie shit
Like
for
the
a
new Big
podcast called
Tens.
Normies Like Us. Yes, exactly,
Right.
Mike. And a friend of the podcast, Manette, has been trying to get us into like Jujutsu Kaisen and
I
stuff.
was going to
I've
ask.
not made it over there yet, but another big one. But fucking Demon Slayer, Mike, the most successful film in Japan to ever release, right? Like it made so
Wow,
much
yeah.
money in theaters. One of those arcs that they made. They just announced when I was at Comic-Con, they had all these boards up, which has become a sort of a mini anime expo too. That the final arc is going to be 3 theatrically released films in America. That is, we are in this weird new generation, guys. Like anime
Yeah.
is so mainstream now.
No,
It's
and that is
incredible.
cool. Like we had to have third generation VHSs bootlegged, like that somebody
Yeah.
lent you. You know, it's really hard to find it. It was Japanimation, I think we talked about off pod. Like they wouldn't even, they were scared to call it like anime. You know, and now that it's so mainstream, like that's pretty sick. So
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. And what about, One Piece, your favorite? I mean, I heard that might be ending, or like the original, the manga artist is actually going to be ending it soon.
We're moving into an interesting territory. I'm also getting very worried about his health. He released a chapter recently that was unfinished, which he's never done before. Like the drawings weren't complete, and he like put out a big apology for it and said it had to do with his eyesight after an intense eye surgery. But also, Jacob, on the live action front, we've gotten so much information on what season 2 of
Castings and
Netflix is
stuff.
going to be.
Yeah.
true.
They're not, I'm a little bothered. They're not going the way I thought they would set these arcs up, and it seems like they're going much slower than every fan has predicted. And now I'm like, we'll never get through this thing. And the way that
It's gonna be
Netflix
like 10
cancels
seasons.
stuff,
They don't want you
10,
to.
dog, 20. I mean, it's like
Wow. Yeah.
just to get to the halfway point, like it's never gonna happen.
Well, I know about,
Yeah.
I don't know too much about One Piece, obviously, but I know on the animation side, they've made a bunch of standalone animated movies that aren't necessarily even connected to the
No, I
canon of
hate
the
those.
show.
I hate those.
Yeah.
No, but
You got to
it
watch
looks
them all
like,
and rank them.
right. It doesn't look like we're going to be getting through Alabaster at all.
No, that's
we're doing
it's
Tiny
that,
Garden
Mike,
and yeah.
Mike, that's exactly my issue, and that's so funny that you bring those up. It's
Speed wise, we should just be hitting Alabaster as quickly as
we
possible.
need to
Right.
be cutting some
Crocodile.
things and moving. It's
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. So
Well, it's with
Yeah.
these long running series with these creators who, do get older, unfortunately. It's like George R. R. Martin, obviously, versus the One Piece artist. And like what happened even with like the Berserk guy, RIP, but
that
died before Berserk
my
ended.
brother literally brings that up as that's why you should be concerned, and I'm constantly like, watch your mouth. Don't you dare jinx this.
Right. I guess what will we get first? The end of A Song of Ice and Fire or the end of One Piece?
The end of One Piece.
One Piece is going to
Probably,
happen.
Yeah. We will get it.
All right.
And he's not someone who's embarrassed. Like he has told all of his editors to be like, if I do die, figure this out. Here's the answers. And it's like, thank you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I started reading that when I was 10. Don't take this away from me.
Yeah, well, guess what? A Game of Thrones, the first novel in The Song of Ice and Fire, came out in 1992.
Wow.
God.
So, yeah.
Oh.
All right. And so One Piece, the first edition. When did that come out? Come on.
I think
No idea.
1997.
Yep, 97. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep in mind, so you've seen the movie Logan Lucky, right, Colin?
One of my
There's a very
favorites.
funny
not.
scene where the prisoners are like, "Can we get a copy of, A Dream of Spring in the Winds of Winter in the prison library?" He's like, "Oh, those books aren't released yet."
Not
That
out
movie
yet.
came out in what 2015, I think, or 2017. So that movie is like 7 years old, and they were already making like George R. R. Martin will never finish these books jokes, and no progress has been made since that movie came out. So, anyways, not to sidetrack that, but I watched that clip the other day and I thought that was really funny.
We need to just put a sticker that says blog on his typewriter, so he'll go to it and think he's not working on the book, and he'll just invariably use it.
Whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know if we have any other watch-ins, or do we want to go over to what you've been playing? Because we're all getting played by George R. R. Martin.
I'm ready to get played.
Let's get played.
Let's get played.
My boy Brian Jakes would never do that. R.I.P.
No,
to him.
he finishes his arc and then dies.
Well, Redwall books are mostly standalone, but yeah, he was
I
making them
also
up until
think
he
there
died.
was I think there was some uncompleted works in Redwall, actually.
But yeah, he was writing one book a year up until he
Yeah.
died. Like their last book came out the year he died, and so he would have written more if he stayed alive longer. But again, they're all standalone, so they don't have
A song
much-
of mice and fire.
Oh, nice, dude.
Love
I
it,
like that.
love
A
it.
song of Mice and Briar.
I love it. I
we'll
absolutely
workshop
love it. Yeah. Shout out Redwall.
Shout out Redwall. Well, we're back.
Martin the
Redwall,
Warrior.
Shout
We're
out
back.
literature.
We should mention, Colin was talking
Yes.
about his Comic-Con experience. Mike and I are both wearing our
Mm.
t-shirts that Colin got for us at Comic-Con. He got me a Redwall shirt, which is a series of novels that I read as a kid about mice and various small animals who are live in a medieval world. I call it Game of Thrones for kids. It's a lot of fun.
Yep. The game of cheese. And then I have a Godzilla King of the Monsters t-shirt, because I do love me some Godzilla, and it is super awesome. And yeah, I'll have you know, I looked it up. Godzilla has fought Superman.
Oh, of
Of course
course.
he has.
Sure.
So there's something.
The thing I'll say
man will
about
kick his ass.
Comic Con that I always call it as a compliment or a double-edged sword is that it is just like walking around a mall for 8 hours. So you will
Right.
find stuff for people. Like that's kind of the whole point of going to it. I'll say. So
That's kind of my favorite thing. Like
for you guys.
I've never been
Yeah,
to San
for
Diego
sure.
Comic-Con, but I've been to WonderCon here in LA, and I do like just going around and looking at artwork, looking at all the merch and stuff that you can get, and a lot of creative stuff that people have made. And I think that's kind of the most fun thing about it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I get to see all the rare Godzilla figures that I cannot
Yeah.
buy.
Artist
sad.
Alley, and
Yeah. While a guy next to you with a fully erect penis, dressed up as Princess Peach, asks you to
Yep.
scoot over so he can get a better look at the merch too. Yeah, it's
Princess
it's
Coke,
great.
yes, naturally. Everyone knows that character.
Yeah. I do think as I get older, cons in general become more of an exhausting idea to me, where I'm like, I'm gonna go stand around like an enormous group of people, and
Well,
it's
like
just gonna
Mike,
have to walk
you
around
still
all
go
day.
to concerts. Do those at your age, Mike? Do those just drain you?
I've certainly like graduated from the pit. Like I will be at best the pit guardian, like the person on the edge protecting the civilians, or I'm
Right.
at the back, just arms crossed. It's one of the two.
That's
but
me. I'm the boner guardian.
yeah.
I'm not swinging my arms around anymore.
No, and it's like it's still
Um,
so packed in, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. Shall we get to what we've been playing, guys?
Yeah, what have you guys been playing?
You want to kick
Well, I
it
think-
off, Colin?
Well, I'll actually throw it to Jacob instead to say,
Okay,
let's
yeah.
wrap up that Star Wars talk you gave, because I
Yeah,
want to hear
that's
more about
right,
these
yeah.
games. Yeah.
Well, like I said, with the Acolyte, it got me into the Star Wars mood. I was like, you know what? Let me replay a game that I played back in the day when it came out a couple years ago. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, as Mike shows off his lightsaber.
That's not a euphemism. It's actually a
You're not a
lightsaber.
Comic Con.
he's in his Princess
Showing
Peach
off your
costume.
lightsaber.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
And of course, Jedi Fallen Order and its sequel, Jedi Survivor. This is, of course, following the adventures of Cal Kestis, a former Jedi Padawan during the Order 66, who kind of became a fugitive on the run type of guy. And you guys have both played at least the first game, right?
I beat the first game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
So,
waiting
yeah,
for the
it's sort
second
of
one to go on sale, but I did enjoy the first one a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It will.
I
It'll
got
be
the second one on
$5
sale.
eventually.
Yeah. I actually got it on sale. I got them both together on sale, I think, during a Steam sale.
Nice.
But yeah, it's so you know what these games are like. It's basically a Souls-like
Yeah.
Star Wars game with some platforming. It's sort of a mix between the Uncharted games and Souls type games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I mean, Fallen Order, like I said, I'm boycotting Star Wars and Disney now, but I will talk about these games since I completed them before this boycott started.
Right.
My personal boycott. But yeah, Fallen Order, I beat that, rebeat it in 22 hours, which I was impressed how fast I got through that one. It has less side content and stuff. It's mostly like, oh, you found a chest with a different cosmetic item in it. Very cool.
Wear this poncho.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the ponchos.
But it's a lot of fun. Yeah, the storyline is good. I like it. The sequel, Jedi Survivor, you guys have not played this one, right?
No. But
This game, it's a much bigger game. It's a much more, I don't want to say bloated because I think the side content and stuff is cool, but it's definitely, the first game is much more on rails where it's like a straight ahead adventure. You're not getting sidetracked by other stuff too much. You're just doing what you're doing, right? This game, it's much more open world. It's much more go here, explore this kind of thing. But I like it a lot. I mean, the storyline is not as good as the first game either. It feels less focused. But essentially, if you remember how that game ended, where you're sort of on this ship with your crew, which is, your sort of new Jedi Master, Seer, played by Deborah Wilson, from Mad TV. Yeah. You've got your little pilot guy, forgetting his name too. You got your witch friend from Dathomir.
Yeah.
So this new game kind of jumps
that we've picked up along the way.
That's right. You're growing your plants
the only
on the
side quest
spaceship.
The first one is plants. Yeah.
Well, this game kind of blows it out to, okay, you're doing a little plant cultivation on your ship. Now you have like a full home base city on this planet that kind of becomes your home base. You're growing gardens. You're catching fish. You're doing all this different stuff.
Jedi Animal Crossing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty interesting.
Stardew Jedi.
Yeah.
There we go.
Essentially how this game starts though, it's like a 5-year time jump into the future. Your crew has now all gone their separate ways for various reasons. And you're feeling, as Cal Kestis, you're like, where did all my friends go? What happened? But you're working with Saw Gerrera doing some, rebel type stuff. And which leads you back to these various crew members who you have to kind of see what they're up to now. And there's a whole mystery and everything. And it actually is interesting because it has some crossover with the Acolyte, because the High Republic is a big part of the story where so basically it's about this sort of Shangri-La of Jedi lore called I should have looked up the names and stuff because I forgot them all, but it's like this magical utopia that you're trying to get to, this Jedi utopia that's like the secret planet. And this was all discovered during the High Republic. So you're seeing these High Republic flashbacks, and you meet a droid from the High Republic era. You have all this High Republic technology and stuff. But again, the story, it's not as good as the first game, because the first game just felt a lot more focused. This game is just like, well, we didn't really know what to do with these characters, but let's do this whole mystery.
Did we have any cool looking antique droids in the Acolyte other than her little scanner thing?
No. What's interesting with the Acolyte, it's set in the High Republic, but a lot of the stuff didn't look High Republic to me, which has a very distinct sort of visual look to it, a lot of it, like the droids and stuff. So I feel like they did kind of miss the mark on that. Yeah, it looked very prequel-y.
right? With
But
Yeah.
this is, the High Republic is set hundreds of years, or at least like 150 years before the prequel era, right?
Yeah, well, Yoda was there. Can't forget that.
Yeah, but he's like 800 years old.
I know, but just I wanted to mention a really sick tease.
I think you mean old
I did-
Grogu. We never learned who that
Oh, that's
character
Yeah,
was.
I did see a very funny meme online where they're like, "We're never gonna figure out who this character is." I've just been calling him Adult Grogu
Grown up Grogu. That's pretty funny. He
instead of
grew,
Baby
man.
Yoda.
Old Gru.
Oh, there we go.
Old Gru. But yeah, I would recommend Jedi Survivor. I have not finished it because I stopped playing it because I got really into another game, which I'm about to mention.
Mhm.
But I enjoyed my time with it. I might get back into it at some point. Again, it's a huge game, much longer it seems than the first game. And again, it's much more in the first game. You're based in your ship. You fly to different planets. You do the platforming and stuff on those levels, but your home base is kind of your ship. On
Right.
this one, you end up on this one planet that is way bigger than any of the planets in the first game because there's just so
Hmm.
many areas, and there's this like town that you live in. Basically, your old captain friend who was the captain of the ship, little Screeble Butt or whatever his name
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Forearms. Yeah.
What's that?
Forearms, isn't that what
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name now either. I should have looked all this stuff up. But
All right.
he now owns a
Glup
cantina.
Shido is the default name.
Glup
That's
Glup
Star Wars
Shido.
Yeah.
characters. Yeah.
I believe his name is Glup Shido. He now owns a cantina in this town on this planet. And that becomes, he's like, yeah, I've got a little room that you can stay in. And that becomes your home base. And so you go out and you do missions from there. But I'm going to look at what this guy's name is.
How's the like
Grease Dritus.
Grease Dritus.
Yeah. Grease
yeah,
Dritus is his
That was
name.
worth it.
Yeah, that was good. Not as good as Glup Shido, but I'm glad we know.
No.
But the first game is very much you're unlocking all your powers. Like you lose your memory or whatever, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
now I know how to force jump again. Do they like do the
Right.
thing where they say, "Psych, we got to earn them again," or do you start the game full
No.
powered?
And actually, I like this because they're just like, all that stuff you learned in the last game, you already know how to do that.
Good,
But
thank
you're learning
God.
other
Thank
new
you.
stuff. Yeah. So you already can double jump. You can already, or Jedi flip and
Use your
stuff.
two lightsaber form, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You're good. Okay.
Yeah. And actually, a big part of this game is different lightsaber stances. So that's a new part of this game. You have single bladed, you have double bladed, you have dual wielding, you have lightsaber and blaster stance,
Whoa,
and you
dude.
have
Otherwise known as American style.
yeah, and that's like good for like ranged and stuff. And then you have like essentially Claymore lightsaber. I don't remember what it's called exactly, but it's like you have a big Kylo Ren lightsaber with side jets, and it's much
sick.
more heavy attack, slow heavy attacks, right? And you can switch these
Cool.
stances out. Now the annoying thing is you can only switch. You can set 2 preset stances that you can switch back and forth, but there's 5 different stances, and you can only change your 2 presets at meditation points or work
Like a
tables or
bonfire.
whatever.
Yep.
But you never know what kind of stances you're going to need coming up. So it's like I mainly just stuck with like 2 stances that I knew the best and didn't change them around. But it feels like if you're just able to access all 5 stances anytime you wanted, it feels like people would experiment with them more, right? So that's a game design thing that I sort of had a problem with.
That's like a Dark Souls thing though, where like you don't know what you're getting into, you get ambushed or whatever, and then you're at the bonfire and you're like, okay, clearly I should, bring this weapon. Like,
Yeah.
that's at least that loop.
I felt the blaster stance was pretty much useless. I mean, it's good for range. You can shoot your blaster at people from far away, but I liked the Kylo Ren stance because I just felt like super badass swinging the big claymore around.
Mm-hmm.
Dual wielding is fun. That's like quick. That's the quickest one, right?
Yep.
Single blade is very balanced. Double side is good for groups.
Yep.
Sort of group control. Yeah.
See, famously, there's 7 forms of lightsaber combat, right? Mace Windu is one of the only people to know all of them. But anyway, so I find it interesting that there were only 5 in here when you could have had 7. But that's besides the point. Like Devil
Mace
May Cry.
Windu know American style?
Heck yeah, dude. That's his favorite.
Yeah.
But like Devil May Cry, for example, they have it where you can switch between like 6 different weapons at any given time. You have like 3
Yeah.
guns, 3. So like they could have
Right.
there is a way games have done it where you could have had access to all 5.
Right. Just make it so that you don't have to go to a meditation point to switch your stances.
But that would be pretty dynamic if you like grab another one off your belt and like that's kind of sick.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of customization in this game too. They really expanded the customization options, which I also liked because if you remember in the first game, yeah, you had different ponchos and stuff you could put on. In this game, it's like you can change your hairstyle, you can change your beard style, you can change your top layer, your bottom layer, your jacket, your lightsaber, color lightsaber, different pieces of lightsabers, colors of all those, your blaster, what your blaster looks like,
Ooh.
That's
what
dope.
BD1 looks like so much customization. And I really love that part of like making a new sick looking lightsaber. You know, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that's probably a lot of the incentive to explore the big maps. Is that here's where your
Yeah.
cosmetics are. Yep. Okay.
But in the first game, it was just like, oh, a new full outfit. In this one, it's like 3 different pieces of your outfit, plus your hair, plus your beard, and it just gives you so much more control over what Cal Kestis looks like and stuff.
Yeah, BD had like
I've been
set
playing.
skins, but it wasn't like customizable.
Yeah.
That's
In this,
cool.
it's like you can choose the material, you can choose the color. I mean, it's kind of insane. It's a lot of fun.
I'm trying to remember who's publishing EA. EA publishes Survivor and Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Marin, which is your witch friend from Dathomir, you
Mhm.
even get sort of a relationship with her and Cal Kestis where they're, you know, sort of building this relationship between them.
Nice.
So I liked character interactions. Seer is now working with Jedi Master Eno Cordova, doing some bullshit. Then Darth Vader attacks, of course. Blah blah blah. The main villain is this guy from the High Republic that you fight a couple times. He's into like a Bacta tank, and you accidentally release him, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm like an evil Jedi from the High Republic." So he's fun to fight, and that's the guy that Colin watched me fight as a boss and beat eventually after a couple tries.
Yeah.
So if you like those games, I mean, yeah, it's more of the same but bigger and better, I would say, than Fallen Order.
The boss is still pretty hard. It seems like so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think the boss fights are kind of the hardest part of that game, and I played them on Jedi Master, which is the second highest difficulty. Grandmaster is the hardest, but it is above the default normal difficulty, so I do feel proud of myself for that. I mean, it's nothing compared to Dark Souls or Elden Ring.
They are Souls-like, yeah.
Yeah.
They're hard
mechanically.
fights.
But because you're a Jedi, you kind of feel overpowered at times where it's like, what's like one stormtrooper going to do against me? Fucking nothing. Like, I'm going to destroy him like it's nothing.
The appeal too, though, is you want to have that experience.
You feel like a god.
Lightsaber. Right.
The other thing that this adds is more prequel stuff. You have battle droids, you have droidicas, you have all those things because you're not only fighting the Empire and their tree of different stormtroopers and stuff, but you're fighting the Bedlam Raiders, who are these raiders on this planet that you're on that are like trying to take over the local government or whatever, and they use battle droids and stuff from the prequel era. So you're fighting a lot of those.
They just seized a whole bunch of that stuff, you know.
Yeah. And there's a lot of funny dialogue where you're just walking around and you'll hear battle droids talking to each other, and that's a classic prequel Star Wars thing.
Roger, heck yeah.
Roger.
That's good.
And I just love to force push them off cliffs and stuff. It's always
that
fun.
was the OP move. Was once you get this over upgraded force push in the last game.
Yeah.
Everyone's pretty much cooked except for bosses.
Right. And again, you start with all the powers you had in the last game, but it's also adding new powers. So now instead of just a Jedi flip, you can do a force dash in the air, which allows you to reach new places and stuff. So, I mean, you know the formula, but it's a fun game. I recommend it.
It's a little Metroid vibe, or Zelda. Oh, now you
Metroidvania
have
mixed with exactly. It's Metroidvania mixed with Souls-like. Nice. Two of the genres that people like. So it works.
Blacksmith Wukong, that's going crazy right now.
People are loving that game. People in China,
people in America. Like 2 million consecutive players at one point or something. It's going crazy.
But I think a lot of that is just people in China. But that's a huge untapped market for a lot of games too.
Did you say on here, and I can't even remember if you did this in real life, did you do the Elden Ring DLC, Mike?
Yeah, I did. I've beaten it almost twice now. Yeah, I really liked it. It was hard.
Huh.
But I enjoyed it a lot. I think it has some of the best fights. The final fight is very difficult, unless you're me. Then it's really easy. My entire strategy is I only jump and two-hand attack with two giant hammers. So I am hoping that my iframes from jumping keep me alive. Like I literally will only jump, and it makes it really hard because I'm not rolling and I'm an idiot. But I did beat a very hard boss with 10 jumps and perfect
Wow.
timing,
God damn.
and I didn't do anything but caveman Unga Bunga. It's doable.
We like hard video games on this podcast.
We do. And
Yeah.
some of those fights took me like 30 or 40 tries. Like I spent multiple nights on a couple of them, so it was good.
Damn.
See,
Yeah.
I've always had sort of a love-hate relationship with Souls-like type games because I'm not as good at them as you are or other people, but I get frustrated if I die to a boss like 10 times in a row. I'm more likely to just say fuck this than try to beat it.
Well, have you
No.
considered, and this is interesting advice, but getting good?
That's
I've
I haven't thought of
tried,
that.
but I'm just not good. But I think I'm good at other kinds of games. And I just think
Right.
Souls-like, as much as I appreciate them, they're not my genre necessarily. Although I do, I played Elden Ring, playing these Star Wars games, but it's just not my strength. But I try to muscle through it anyway. But
Right.
when it comes to first-person shooters or simulation building type games, those are much more my thing.
No, see, I play these Souls games because I am in a love-hate relationship with myself, and I deserve to be punished and struggle. And so
Right.
that's why I just
Mhm.
push through them.
But I get to a point where it's like, if I'm not having fun, if I'm getting actively angry at myself, like how fun, like this is my free time, my
Why did I
few
do
spare
the
hours of the day that
2
I can play
hours?
video
Yeah.
games.
I tell you
Why
what,
am
I
I,
have
you know,
no, yeah, video games are supposed to be fun. When we used to get really heated, me and my cousin at Dark Souls, we would like literally be like, video games are supposed to be fun. Like
right.
this is recreational. Calm down. Like it's okay. It can
Yeah,
get there. And if I can
absolutely.
do a quick transition to what I've been playing in that
Go for it.
philosophy, again, I love Alien Romulus, so I got Alien Isolation, which has been a lot of people have been playing recently, 2015 or 2014, I think it came out.
Hell yeah.
And it's just like a really good survival horror thing, but I was playing on the hard difficulty, and sometimes it would get to be like the alien is psychic, and I would just get frustrated tiptoeing through the same 4 rooms, and I was like, you know what? I'm an adult, and I would just lower the difficulty down to normal because it's like I have limited time and I don't want to be frustrated, but I absolutely love the
Right.
atmosphere. I beat the game, and then I would bump it back up to hard, but if I hit a wall, I would just be like, no, I'm not having fun. Nobody's handcuffed me to
It's
this,
like,
so
it's a
yeah.
single player game that you're playing for your own enjoyment. Like if you want to lower the difficulty, I think that's perfectly valid.
Yeah, the
You're
video
not
game police
screaming
aren't
it.
gonna. Yeah, they're not gonna take my Dark Souls Elden Ring beating card for
Yeah.
playing
Right.
Alien Isolation on normal or easy.
Right.
But I will say that game is very, very fun. It has excellent atmosphere, and I can see a lot of the Alien Romulus influence. Some of the door handles are directly. He put them directly in the movie. There's like emergency save points that you see in the background of shots because it was heavily inspired the movie. So it was cool to go back and be like, oh, that's where he got some of these ideas.
That's awesome.
So if you're still into Alien, check out Alien Isolation. It's cheap, it's fun, it's a little spooky, getting into spooky
Yeah.
season. So that's like been my big project.
Of course, we played Aliens Fireteam Elite together a couple, years back.
I keep thinking about that too. I'm like going back, playing it a little
Yeah,
bit.
that's a fun game.
And there's an unreleased 2024 project called Alien Rogue Incursion that is a VR game that looks similar to Alien Isolation first person. And I'm like, maybe I'll try that out on the old Oculus and get scared again.
Yeah.
But yeah, space.
Alien's a perfect franchise for horror video games.
Or just any video game.
Yeah.
and you
Horror.
got like
I will
the
say,
Mhm.
sorry, horror Oculus games to me is like maybe too far because I'm gonna get so scared being in that environment that it's like too
Resident Evil
scary to
4
play.
is very scary, and that's
Oh
the
God.
old graphics version, and it's still scary.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if I can handle it.
no, I gotta get a different chair. What's the other thing? Oh yeah, just Alien Isolation. One more thing that I liked about it, like there's just everything from the movies because I rewatched Alien and Aliens, and like you get the plasma torch from Aliens that they cut the grate open with, and it's like the exact same one, and like the flamethrower, and it's just cool. Like those are It's like Metroidvania or Resident Evil. Like those are your tools. Certain doors can only be opened with a plasma torch. Certain ones need like a bolt cutter thing. Are the ones you have to hack. So as you get your tools, that's like your Resident Evil. Open more doors of the haunted mansion and eventually get out. So it's that format.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And what about you, Colin? What are you playing?
Well, question for you guys too, just because we just mentioned it, is are either of you going to mess around with Black Myth Wukong?
Probably
I
not.
will
I mean, again,
eventually.
I'm not, a Souls like. I'm not going out playing every Souls like, but
Yeah.
I know people have been liking it.
I'm gonna play it eventually. I'm just gonna go out of town soon, so I don't want to get invested in it yet. But I do like
Monkey.
those games, and I like
Okay.
like Chinese mythology and Journey to the
Oh, yeah.
West and like kung
It's
fu stuff. Like it looks sick.
Monkey.
we
Monkey.
talked about it when
Monkey.
we did our One Piece episode. That how much of those stories, One Piece itself, his name is
Dragon
literally
Ball.
Monkey D. Luffy. The fact that Goku is basically Sun Wukong, Monkey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean
They love
it's
monkeys.
Especially
persists,
early
yeah.
Dragon Ball, like they have the pig sidekick, which is the same as Wukong, the power pole, all that stuff is directly
Yeah,
Journey to the West.
all of
So
it. Flying
We've
Nimbus.
got
I mean,
tails, monkey
Mhm.
tails.
it's
yeah, the
literally the
graphics are
mess
good.
adapted. I probably won't. I'm typically these days in baby game mode. I'm, that's not coming to the Switch. So I'm very excited for the new Zelda at the end of this month. I'm sure in a zillion years when we do another Whatcha, I'll be talking about that. But otherwise, I'll just say bucket list. I finally beat Mario RPG, something I've wanted to do since I was a kid. I did pick
Wow.
up the new version of that. I gotta
Nice.
say, it is one of the worst video games I've ever played in my life. It is
Really.
truly atrocious. It's
It was just
horrible.
nostalgia carrying it in our minds.
But why did I focus so much energy on wanting to play this game that every session I'd be like, this is terrible.
See, again,
don't know.
we're adults now. You can choose what you do with your time. Sometimes
Yeah.
we just
Exactly.
don't anyway.
So what I'm doing instead is now that I've wrapped up it, I play a tactics game on the Switch that I was telling Jacob a little bit about called Unicorn Overlord.
Look it up.
Mike, you might like the aesthetic. Jacob, you might like the story in that it's sort of a Game of Thrones meets Lord of the Rings. It even seems to have a mechanic that when you defeat an enemy, they'll very much say, "You can't beat me. I'm the vassal of the Riverlands, and don't you realize that, I'm married to this person and it will do this?" And then you can
course.
decide to either recruit them or execute them. And
Whoa.
it does seem to have repercussions down the line of like sometimes they can betray you if you recruit them. So
Oh
it
yeah.
is very
Choices
Game of
matter.
Thrones. Yes, very
Yeah.
cool. And it's just, so much of the animation budget, it's so anime looking, but like I told Jacob, Mike, the jiggling of female characters' breasts seems to be, 60 frames per second when everything else is like 5 frames per second. So it's
Right.
like it is absurd. And sometimes these sessions I'll do a fight, slow moving tactics game where 2 hours will be the one fight, and it'll basically be you're making so many moral choices. Like that's a world I'm happy in. I love a tactics game, so I'm
Sort of
happy
a
with it, but it is a waste of time.
No,
Yeah.
I'm taking
Right.
a look at it. It
Um,
reminds me, like visually, a little bit of something like Valkyria Chronicles, which I do like.
Which that's a tactics world that you are very much into. I've never played those. Obviously, they're much more anime inspired. That being
Yeah.
militaristic versus this fantasy, but it very much made
Yeah.
me think of that as well, Mike.
I was
The art
thinking of like
style is
Fire
very
Emblem.
similar.
It's mechanically, it's so much closer to Fire Emblem, which is a world that I live in and love. Jacob, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I like tactics games a lot. I've talked about XCOM, XCOM 2 being one of my most played ever games. I talked about that Midnight Suns that I
think about it
played
all the
recently.
time now.
Making a book club with Blade. What could
Blade.
do better?
Anytime I think of a character
Oh,
Blade or
man.
Moon Knight, now I think of Jacob playing what sounds like the most boring game ever created.
How dare you?
Yeah,
How
oh,
dare
man.
you? Just hanging out with my good friends, Captain Marvel and everybody.
Can you tell Captain
Magic.
Marvel that I think she's cute?
That's
Yeah, but then
ridiculous.
Steve Rogers overhears them and he wants to join, and he thinks because Blade wants to be his friend, but it's really because Blade is in love with
This was
Captain Marvel.
explicitly just a different game like high school literature club, and they were just like,
It-
just put
Yeah.
Blade in there, right?
Well, again, yeah, it has the social aspects of like a Fire Emblem Three Houses, which is
But
fascinating
the
because it's
cover
Marvel
shooter
characters.
aspects that they can't really pin down because then like you'll say like and then Wolverine, he's like a physical guy where it's like, yeah, of course.
Yeah, but XCOM, yeah, XCOM is a very cover shooter focused tactics games where you're fighting an alien invasion to Earth, and I love that game so much. I played a modded version where I had all these different modded guns and things, and just had a
Now,
real blast with that.
not a video game, but I do want an explanation for our visual watchers of Mike, what are you drinking out of?
Oh yeah, I was waiting for that to be answered.
What
I
is
recently, it's like an agua fresca from Tacos Gavilan, and they delivered it in a bag, and it's kind of futuristic. So yes,
Wow, yeah, it's like that's what they would drink in Alien or something.
when
little
you
I
pouch.
got this from the company. Yeah.
when you go back to your unitards or what do you your jump
Boiler
suits,
suits, yeah.
your boiler suits, and when you get your alien shoes, you will have gone completely cyberpunk.
I'm just dressed for the
Yeah.
job you want, you know? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm ready for the dystopia. I hope I get drafted by OnlyFans in the corporate wars once they begin.
Sure.
And we're here for it.
I hope so too, buddy. Unfortunately, I will
company
be
man.
fighting for Coca-Cola, so you will have to die by my hands.
I might get Tacos Gavilan if I'm not careful. But
But
Well,
that's
maybe
it
this
for me.
is a
Yeah.
good transition to the other game that I wanted to mention, the one that I've been playing most recently, and this is the single thing I was like most excited to talk about in this episode,
okay.
which might blow your mind. But yeah, I've been playing a little game called Starfield
A lot of
recently.
space.
Lot of
Nice.
Yeah.
space.
And well, this
Starfield
is
Valley.
because it shares a lot of stuff with Alien and with these different things. And so I'm actually trying to pitch Mike on playing this game because I think you might like it if you tried
You
it.
can't refine your water reserves.
Right.
That's
But
all
you
Mike
can
need
do
water.
so much more. This, of course, Starfield, the Bethesda game that released last year, actually last
Mhm.
September, a year ago, essentially. And this is a game that I played on release for about 40 hours, had some fun with, put it down, didn't come back to it for like 8 months. Came back to it in like the middle of July, and I was like, you know what? It's time to get back into Starfield. And so, like I said, I played 40 hours on release. I now have over 120 hours in the
Wow.
game. I really became addicted to it in the last like month. And it's the same thing where, you're talking about Fallout 4, how you got really into the building aspect of
Right.
it, and it just became sort of your cozy game.
Uh-huh.
That's what Starfield has really become to me. And I realized, a lot of people gave it sort of middling to bad reviews when it came out, game reviewers and stuff like that. And I think a lot of
Right.
people just didn't understand what kind of game it is and how you have to play it to like it. And so I've
cracked the
become an
code.
enlightened, I've become a Starfield defender. It's #1 defender. I think it's a great game.
Okay.
I think it's better than Fallout 4 for sure. It's bordering on Skyrim for me now, where it's like
Wow.
it's one of my all-time favorite games, I think, at this
Oh
point.
my
Really?
God, wow.
Yeah. So
Jeez. Okay. Well, good for you. I'm
unfortunately,
happy for you,
yeah.
man.
We'll never make a Starfield movie or a Amazon Prime TV show, Jacob, so it's never going to matter.
No, but I mean, you could say the world isn't maybe as interesting as something like Fallout. But it obviously it's a Bethesda game, so it shares a lot in common with Fallout 4 and Skyrim. It's Skyrim in space, essentially. The building is very similar. It's essentially the Fallout 4 building mechanics, but improved and expanded upon. And yeah, I'm living my space dreams. I'm going
All right.
around in a ship. I'm doing missions. It's very Firefly to me, a show that I loved when I was younger. I'm just, surviving till the next job. I've got a misfit
Doma.
crew of friends on my ship with me.
First person, so you're not seeing, like, do you customize what your character looks like?
Well, yeah, it's similar to like Skyrim, where it can be first person or it can be third person. You
Oh,
can
okay.
zoom in
I
or
like
out.
that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Bethesda game through and through. Like, it takes all the aspects of those earlier Bethesda games and sort of refines them. I think on release, people are like, "What? Well, it promised all this stuff. It promised a lot, and it didn't deliver on maybe some of the things it promised." And there are things that really annoy me and frustrate me about the game. I will say, like, at times it can be very, very boring, actually, but other times I'm like very into it. So it's like a very mixed bag for me. But there's a lot of loading screens. It's frustrating. You can't fly from space directly onto a planet, things like that. But once you understand why they had to do things certain ways, I think it makes more sense. This is a huge game, hundreds of planets. I mean, it's the scope of this game is actually insane the more I think about it. But and people had problems with like the procedurally generated planets. Like a lot of them, there's not that much to do. But it's like, I think that's realistic. If you went out into space and you went to a random planet,
Oh no.
a lot of them there wouldn't be very much to do, right?
Fair.
So it is realistic. And the areas that are populated, the main areas that like you go to for the story and stuff are so detailed and enormous. Like it's like a normal, like a city in Starfield, like the hub city is bigger than any of the cities in Skyrim, right? And of course it should be. Like it's a 10 years newer game, so of course it should be more advanced, right? But I mean, this game is just enormous, and I haven't even seen every part of it yet. So
Do you have to get into a hyperbaric chamber as you travel between the planets?
no, they have faster than light travel. They
Well,
have
then
like
Mike's
warp
not gonna
drives
like
and
it.
stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Stop trying to
Yeah.
sell him on that.
Yeah.
But there are some things that aesthetically sort of remind me of Alien, like all the little dials and switches on spaceships and stuff like that. It's a lot like it's more cleaner and brighter, and it's like a very optimistic looking future. So it's like not everyone's taste.
Now you're losing me.
Yeah, but there's the cyberpunk planet that you can go to that's very cyberpunk. There's the space western planet that's very Firefly, So there's different factions.
So you would call this the Rebel Moon of video games.
It's got a little bit of everything.
No, it's better than Rebel Moon.
Impossible.
But it's so good. It's so good. The storyline is great. I think it's the best Bethesda storyline since I don't know what.
New Vegas?
Yeah.
Well, that's not Bethesda.
Like the main quest line is better than Skyrim. The faction quests are super fun. There's a space pirates faction. There's a
what are the good factions? Because I would always like to join the Thieves Guild and the Black Hand and stuff. So like, what do we have in space?
But that's when you say the story's good. Every Bethesda game is literally you're this one guy. These people are at war. You're in between the war. It's like okay.
It is a lot like that, and actually, there's a lot of similarities to Skyrim, where in Skyrim you were the Dragonborn and you get special powers that you have your shouts, right? In this game, you're the Starborn and you have Starborn powers that you unlock.
You are not selling this well.
No, but it's you'll understand when you play it. Like it fits into the mythology of like basically you're finding these alien artifacts and you're part of this group called Constellation, which is a group of like explorers and stuff that want to find out more about the universe. Because essentially Starfield, it's a future where humans have populated different planets, but we've never run into intelligent life. So we've seen there's alien animals and stuff and flora and fauna, but we've never met like an intelligent alien, a sentient life, right? So you start discovering these mysterious alien artifacts and you're trying to get behind, to the bottom of like where these coming from and could it be another civilization and that kind of thing. So that's pretty cool. Then you have your faction quests. You have the world of Starfield is essentially separate by two main factions where you have the United Colonies and you have the Free Star Collective. The United Colonies are sort of like the UN in space, much more like organized and bureaucratic. Then you have the Free Star Collective, who are like the space western people, the Firefly people, right? They kind of broke off from the United Colonies. They're like, you know what? We don't want to live under your rules. We want to be cowboys, right? Sort of the Wild West of space. So you can get away with more there. You can do crimes and stuff. You can be a little of an anti-hero. So you have the Free Star Rangers faction that you can join, where you basically become a space sheriff, which is pretty fun.
Oh, is Preston Garvey's ancestor? shows
Yeah,
up.
but it's
like
way
another
better
settlement
than
needs our
Preston
help.
Garvey. Yeah.
Yeah,
That sounds
Like
Firefly, yeah.
yeah.
the faction quests are actually have interesting storylines though that like go with them. And
Right.
then so for another one you become you join the UC Vanguard, which is like you're like a Marine, and then you go undercover with these space pirates, and you gotta like, do undercover stuff. And then there's another one where you join this company for the cyberpunk planet where you gotta do a lot of espionage and stuff. That's kind of fun.
Corporate vibes.
There's a lot of varied factions and missions and stuff. And I also just love the building of it. So, I do a bunch of missions. I get bored of doing missions. I go work on my buildings and stuff. When I get bored of that, I go back to missions. But I realized playing this game, you can't play it like it's not Skyrim where you're just heading out in a direction and seeing what you find. You're not going to
Right.
like it if you play it like that. Pretty much I only go to places wherever my next mission is, right? But through that you discover these locations, and that kind of opens up the world. And again, I'm
Stay
playing
on
it
the
like
rails.
yeah, but I'm playing it like Animal Crossing in space, where I'm building my outposts, I'm decorating them, I'm doing all this stuff. And again, the outpost building in this game, it's some of the best building mechanics. And I love building. I love Minecraft. I love any
Am I
game with crafting and building in it. Yeah,
right? It's gonna be on your radar, but am I able then, if I'm not a water baron, can I build an
right.
oppressive mining colony and force people to mine minerals for me? Can I do that?
You don't really force people to because you
I
build
want that.
machines that do it for you. Yeah, but then you can hire people to oversee your machines.
Fair,
It's
fair.
all very, and I would say this
Close.
is kind of where it might lose people sometimes. It's a very utopian game where it's like everyone's like really nice and is optimistic about the future,
What?
and there's a criminal underbelly and stuff. But
Fiction.
yeah, but all of your companions are very like good-sided, like good people. So like if you do any anti-hero type stuff, they're going to be mad at you, and then you just feel bad because you're like, oh, I let down whatever Sarah. She's going to
Whatever.
be
Fuck off, Sarah.
disappointed in me. Yeah. So that's the main problem I have is you can kind of only play it as like a do-gooder. If you try to play it as like a more seedy underbelly type, your companions are just going to hate you. But if you understand that, then you can kind of enjoy the game. And the outpost building, it's incredible because you can build different outposts on different planets that have different minerals. Then you mine those minerals. You build shipping lanes to ship them from one outpost to your main hub.
Mm-hmm.
You can store everything in storage. I'm building my private quarters, which is going great. I got to give you guys a tour of my
I
my
would love
main
that.
hub, which is
Down,
it's
yeah.
looking great. Yeah,
Nice.
I'm having a lot
I
of fun.
will.
Well, similar to how you play Fallout 4, I've just been playing that for hours and just loving it. So
I'm at
yeah,
almost 300 hours of Fallout 4, and at least 75% of
damn,
that time is building shit. Like I don't
that's crazy.
do the
But see, that's
quests.
why I think you might like this game if you get into the building of it. And the thing is, you have to kind of get established. You have to get enough money to get the kinds of minerals you need to build certain things, right?
That's
Because you
why you
can't
need
build
water. I
everything.
need a water depot so I can overcharge the
Yeah,
wasteland, and then I'm rich, and then I can buy minerals. Yeah.
but for me, I just sell all my excess minerals and stuff. And I'm also sort of a loot hound. And this is, if you love looting, this is the game for you because I'll just go in, I'll
Boy.
take every scrap from a location, and then I'll go to a merchant and just sell it all. And I'm so rich in this game. I have so much money. It's insane.
You'll have to show
Yeah.
me how you navigate the space economy. If I do get it, I will specifically,
Yeah.
based on your description, only
And
try
again,
to
you
do an
can,
evil playthrough and fuck everybody over. It will be
you
bad.
might lose all your companions. And because
That's
I'm
fine.
the way my
Who
character
needs
is an
friends when you got
empath.
money? You know.
Yeah. So you can pick certain traits when you create your character. And I'm an empath and an extrovert. So basically I always have to have a companion with me to get certain buffs. And then if I make a decision they like, then they're like, because I'm an empath, I get certain buffs from that. But if I make a decision they don't like, I get negative buffs or I get
I want to be a
debuffs.
gaslighting narcissist. That's what I
Well,
want.
You can.
Jacob,
You
you're
can.
spending 200 hours playing a Diana Troy simulator? What are you doing, dog?
Yeah, I'm basically going around being a diplomat, trying to make peace with people. But I'm also have a history as a bounty hunter, which is my character's history. And I'm also wanted. So people, random bounty hunters will just, when I enter a system, will try to attack me.
That's
And
cool.
then just randomly throughout the game. And then I'll kill them all. But here's what you can do: you can buy and sell ships, you can pirate ships from people, you can do piracy, you can hijack things, you can get in a dogfight with people, basically destroy their engines so they can't jump away, dock with their ship, go inside the ship, kill everyone inside, take the ship, and then go sell it and just flip it. And that's a viable way to play in this game. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. Okay.
So you can be a space pirate and stuff. It's just the story companions might start to hate you, but that's not, that's a totally viable way to play
Hey,
as well.
guess what? It's a role-playing game, and that's the role I want to play. That's the problem I said
Absolutely.
with Fallout is 4 is you don't really have choice. Like
Yeah.
it's it's all they're like say I'm upset, but the quest will progress as normal. Like it's all bullshit in
Right.
Fallout 4. So I don't mind if they get mad as long as they stay mad because I made a choice. Right.
That's why I love Fallout New Vegas, not to get into that again, but in Fallout
Mm.
New Vegas, you can literally kill any character, including main story characters, and the story will figure out some way to progress without,
Yeah.
it won't kill the story by killing a main character. And so I've always
Can you
liked
kill
that
main
about New
characters
Vegas.
in Starfield?
No, it's not as good as New Vegas, I don't think, but it's
Fair.
better than Fallout 4. And if
Okay.
the building is what you like a lot about it, I would say the building in this game is insane. Like I said, you can make different outposts. You unlock more and more cosmetic items and furniture as you play and stuff. There's a lot of ways to build out your character. And they just released an update that adds a vehicle, a land vehicle,
Rover.
to the game, a rover, which is really fun to ride around on. And it changes the way you explore planets because you used to have to walk around everywhere. You have a little jetpack, at least you can blast off, but having the rover makes it so much more fun. And I'm just having a
Jacob,
blast over here.
Are
Yeah.
you a Mass Effect guy?
Yes.
Hmm.
It's very Mass Effect. It's very utopian future, different societies trying to get along. Like I said, United Nations in space kind of vibes. But because you have the UN and you have the Freestar Collective side, which is the wild, wild west of space, it feels a little more varied. Yeah, I would say for anyone who wrote it off or didn't give it a chance, try it out. And the thing is, you might not like it right away. I said to Colin, it's a grower, not a shower. I think the more you play it, the better it gets. It doesn't have a super strong beginning, but a lot of, Bethesda games don't. Skyrim did, but this game, it's just, it's different than what people thought it was going to be, and that's okay. So
I'm
I
looking
don't know.
at it. Yeah,
I'm
maybe on a
a
discount,
defender.
but
Yeah.
55% positive on Steam. So
It's divisive, but again, it promised a lot and it didn't really live up to the hype. But for me, it's kind of exactly what I want it to be. And I'm even sort of starting to I know the flaws are there, but I kind of can excuse the flaws because the highs are so good that it counteracts the lows, if
that's an
that makes
abusive
sense.
relationship, Jacob.
But here's the thing, no game is perfect, right?
Right, right. Yeah, if you engage with the parts that you like, that's valid. And I guess being disappointed by a Bethesda release, that's really on the customer at this point. Like, what were you expecting,
You know
right?
what you're
Like,
getting.
you know what you're getting, yeah. So,
Right. And the thing is,
fair.
it did have a sort of cyberpunk transformation over the last year where they've released updates. They fixed a lot of the technical issues that were there on launch, which is of course a Bethesda thing.
Mhm.
So it's not nothing new for Bethesda, but they did fix it. It runs so much better now than it did on launch. And unfortunately, that's just a AAA thing now, where it's like they released an unfinished game and then fix it over the first year of its life or
It's
whatever.
an
But
industry problem, not just them, yeah.
yeah, and so they just updated it with this buggy, and they're about to release the DLC Shattered Space, which gets into the House of Varun, which is this mysterious space cult.
No. We will not be continuing on that.
Children
It
of
is
the
late
Atom
enough
again.
as it is. No.
Yeah.
Don't worry. We'll talk about that another time. But
It's funny that
I just
they
wanted to
fixed the
mention this
game.
because
Well, and
yeah.
then made it more buggy. That was the joke I wanted to make about the buggy.
Right. But I'll just say that I totally stopped playing Jedi Survivor because I got so addicted to this game that it's all I played for like a month straight. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to put this other game on hold because I'm loving this game. So
All right.
if no one else will defend it, I will defend it. I will be the lone warrior for Starfield. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your service in the Starfield Appreciate it.
Todd, you want to cut me a check? That would be great.
Yeah. Send
my
him a
defensive.
jacket.
Yeah.
A brown leather jacket.
Come on, send me something. I'm the only Starfield, I'm the only person out here defending Starfield like this. I deserve something. Anyways,
all right.
That's what
Well,
I've
we
been
deserve,
playing.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I appreciate the passion for it. I might get it on a discount just to play it wrongly on purpose.
Just try it, give it a
fun.
chance, play it for like 60 hours. Just give it a little chance.
Cool, 60 hours. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's what we've been playing though. We are out here in deep depths of space. We're gonna have to hit the cryo chamber to land this thing. So let's go ahead and
that's right.
Get our final thoughts right after this.
We're back here on Normies Like Us. We're wrapping up a nice long Whatcha because we've been enjoying a lot of stuff.
Bag drink, yeah.
We're enjoying our future bag drinks. Before we give our final thoughts, Jacob, do you want to announce what we're doing next episode? And please, I beg you, do not say the name of it too many times.
Oh man. Well, we're getting into Burton Timber, right? Tim Timber.
Burt Timber.
As Mike coined, Tim Timber.
That's Tim Timber.
So we're talking the new release, of course, the new release of the sequel to Beetlejuice called.
Oh, we're in danger now.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I had to say it 3 times.
Here it comes.
There's a reason I'm wearing stripes right now.
There we
love
go.
it. Yeah, you're real Beetlejuice coated right now.
I've never seen it in my life or my afterlife, the original. So I'm gonna have to watch both.
Wow.
Yeah. Just so I'm
can't wait.
Up to speed on
can't
the
wait.
lore. Yeah.
I'm gonna rewatch Beetlejuice obviously before seeing the new one in theaters. And Colin, do you remember? You might remember there was an animated Beetlejuice show back in the day.
Oh yeah. God,
I recently saw someone posted the intro song and opening to that online, and I watched it. And I was like,
"Is it Danny Elfman or something? Is it?"
It's like the Beetlejuice song. Yeah, I think it has to be Danny Elfman. It's like a remix of the Beetlejuice theme. So it's pretty interesting.
I'm excited because I think this is the highest will be on him and Tim Timber, and then I think it will come crashing down at the end of the month when we talk about his Planet of the Apes.
Well, it's it's got his his new muse, I guess, Jenna Ortega of Wednesday fame. Playing the daughter of Lydia, Winona Ryder from the original. So we'll see how that goes. It's another Lego sequel, and you know how I feel about those. So
yeah, I was served the trailer again before Romulus, and I just big exhaled. I'm like, oh man, this is happening.
I'm nervous, guys. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll have to wait and see. But
being the same, being from the same director, maybe it'll be good. I mean, as long as Beetlejuice isn't like, I'm sure he's going to say all his famous lines from the first one, but
I'm positive.
We'll see. We'll see. I'll give it a chance.
Can I defend it as strongly as Romulus? Can I defend another Lego sequel? I don't think I have it in me, guys. I'm out of gas.
Well, you got to watch the original first.
I know.
To compare it, right?
Absolutely. All right. And the cartoon.
That's what's coming up.
Doing that. Yep.
But any final thoughts? Anything we covered today? I'm excited by a lot of the stuff we covered. I always like hearing about it. I don't think I'll be jumping on the Starfield train, but I'm pretty sure there's some DC movies I'll watch. I'm probably gonna watch Constantine tonight, to be honest with you, the Keanu Reeves film. So
I need to rewatch that as well. And I'll just say this about Starfield. It's not a game for everyone, but it's a game for me. And there's a game out there for everyone. And I think if you're someone like me, you might like it. But again, it's definitely not for everyone. And I understand the criticisms. It's not a perfect game by any measure. And yeah, this was a long episode. Right. It's not a game for everyone.
Can I say
Not
something
a perfect game by any measure.
I don't think this is the last time we'll talk about the Acolyte. I think we'll be talking about the corporate machinations of certain companies as we continue to do this podcast and using it as an example.
Yeah. I told you that's why I'm getting kitted out for the capitalist apocalypse hellscape that we're currently barreling down towards.
Of course, this won't be the last time we talk about it because people are going to see when Disney sees that petition, they're going to fucking renew it. And we're going to be talking season 2 of The Acolyte.
Heck yeah.
In about 2 years.
A Constantine longer transition out with The Acolyte. it was rumored that Keanu Reeves turned down a role in The Acolyte to play Shadow the Hedgehog, and that is something I'm very excited about. The news that Keanu Reeves
Yeah.
is Shadow the
What?
Hedgehog.
I don't know how true that is because they did. So there was the report that he was the original choice to play Jedi Master Soul.
Really?
But then they did release a statement saying, no, Lee Jung Jae was our first and only choice to play Soul. So that might be like trying to save
might need to be
face or whatever.
corroborated.
But yeah.
So,
Hmm.
but in that original pitch universe, Trinity and Neo were
Yes,
going
it
to
was
be
going to be
the
a
two.
reuniting of Trinity and Neo,
Wow.
which would have been interesting. I mean,
Wow.
you can watch you can watch Matrix Resurrections or whatever if you want to see them. But
Oh yeah. They're oh man, interesting. But yeah, I'm excited for Shadow. I need a gun. It's gonna be great. He's gonna say,
yeah,
"Damn."
He
Yeah.
does need a gun. He needs a little
wake up,
hedgehog gun.
samurai.
Mm-hmm.
He's
We
gonna
got a
say that to
hedgehog to
Sonic.
burn. Yeah.
Samurai.
Yeah. And did you
He's got that
either of
hog
you
in
guys
him. Who
watch?
knew?
Speaking of Sonic, either of you guys watch that Knuckles TV show at
Yes,
all?
it's one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Wow. I just saw Knuckles gets punched by Shadow in the trailer, and the top comment was, "He low key deserved that after that show." I was like, "Oh, okay," but I had never seen it.
Wow. I did not
Um,
watch it either, but Idris Elba.
well, we got 10 episodes to get through it if you want to talk about it on the next Whatcha.
Oh God.
But
No,
then
I
we're
just
heading
want to say,
close
this
to
was this is a longer Whatcha, but I did have some things I've been waiting a long time to talk about, like
Yeah.
Starfield and my big DC list summer
Oh, yeah.
project that I've been working on. So I'm
a
very
lot of
excited I
movies.
was able to communicate that to you guys out there, normies. And
Mhm.
again, we'll post the list and everything in the description. So check that out. Let me know if you have any questions.
It's the Super Summer DC Animated Universe Rankings official
Yeah.
by Jacob.
I'm just excited about the future of DC with James Gunn, DCU. It's going to be great. Although we did get some news today about the casting of Hal Jordan in this Lanterns show. You didn't see that?
Mm-mm.
No.
It's a little strange choice to me, but Josh Brolin is going to play Hal Jordan in this Lanterns show.
Show.
Josh Brolin.
In the
Yeah.
DCU? That's what that is?
Yes. It's
Oh.
it's going to be on HBO Max, I believe. It's following, but it's Josh Brolin is Hal Jordan, but it's more of a Jon Stewart featured show where Hal Jordan is an older mentor figure to him.
Okay.
But I
That's how-
believe
Thanos. Too many comic book characters.
Cable, Thanos, what's his name, Western guy. He also played
Jonah Hex. You're
Jonah
right.
Hex.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, he loves his comic book roles, I guess.
Wow.
But if it's anything like, I'm going to make a prediction right now. This might be a spoiler, but I watched a movie called Green Lantern Beware My Power, which is a Jon Stewart focused one featuring an older Hal Jordan that goes rogue and goes evil. And I think that's kind of what they're going to be doing in this show, where Josh Brolin, famously a guy who plays a lot of evil or anti-hero complicated type characters, it's a weird choicing to make him Hal Jordan, like the golden boy of the Green Lanterns. So I think he's going to go evil in this movie, and Jon Stewart, his apprentice, is going to have to stop him, his protege. Yes.
So he'll be a villain, a comic villain.
Yeah. Exactly.
New territory.
Whoa.
That's the only way that this casting makes sense, because when I think Hal Jordan, I don't think Josh Brolin,
No.
All right. Interesting. Well, we will
But
see.
James Gunn, we
filming in
trust.
Cleveland. Yeah, we trust
Yeah.
James Gunn. We'll have to wait and see. But
We're just going to have to wait and see.
yeah.
But thanks,
Well,
Normies,
let's-
for sticking
yeah.
with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Another Whatcha, 310 to Yuma, well, another time in another universe that happened.
To
Sorry.
put it into ways that I can think, Batman and Jor-El teaming up in a Western, 310 to Yuma. That's the only way I can think now. Russell
That'd be
Crowe
nice.
and Christian
Yeah,
Bale.
that's right.
You know what
Exactly.
I'm talking
There
about.
we go. Nice.
Absolutely.
Good pull. All right.
Yes,
So
it's
that's what I
time to
got
go.
for the Whatcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you check out any of that stuff, let us know. Hit us up at normies_like_us on all social media, where you can tell us what do you think about Jacob's list. Did you make a list of your own? What are you watching? What are you playing? What are you reading? What are you seeing? Let us know.
Mhm.
We love that.
If you
Absolutely.
play something, say something.
If you play Starfield, let me know about it so I can know there's one other Starfield defender out there. It'll
Yeah,
make
it's
my
up
life
on
so much better.
YouTube where you can also watch Mike's Alien defense and Jacob's Starfield defense.
Yeah, coming soon. You'll be able to join my cult, my Alien Romulus cult. Just get ready.
Yeah,
We need the Reeboks for everybody first. We're waiting on those.
that's right.
But yeah,
Otherwise,
appreciate
we
y'all.
have been your hosts. Thank you. This is Colin.
It's just Mike.
This is Starfield Jacob reporting for duty, aka DC Jacob.
All right, DC Jacob. Thank you for your service.
District
welcome.
of Columbia, Jacob.
I love the District of Columbia,
Yep. Well, get away from her.
my
you
favorite
bitch.
district.
One of the greatest.
great Hannibal Lecter.
He wants to have you for dinner.
What's
He had a friend for dinner, he said. Can you believe that?
You believe it, folks?
All right.
Bye.
Well, normies.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.